Well, last year, Calgary Dinos quarterback Adam Sinagra threw for 3 touchdowns against UBC, leading the Dinos to their 16th title. We'll try for another big game today. And a linebacker for the Dinos is Micah Teitz, 4th-year man from Calgary. He was 3rd in the Canada West for tackles with 48.5, 4.5 last week against Alberta in the semifinal win. Number of weapons to chase today for UBC, including Alex Morrison, the senior from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. 2 touchdowns against Regina in the semifinal victory in Vancouver. And today, once again, the Thunderbirds and Dinos play for the Hardy Cup. Next. Well, it's Remembrance Day, and we're here in southern Alberta, a picture-perfect day in Calgary, and what's becoming an annual tradition of the championship game of the Canada West being played here at McMahon Stadium. Good afternoon, I'm Andy Neal. Well, the Calgary Dinos and the Hardy Cup Championship have become synonymous over the past decade. The Dinos have appeared in 9 consecutive leading up to today, winning 7 of those, all but 1 played here at McMahon Stadium. And now this afternoon, they'll try to make it 8 wins in the past 10 as they get set to entertain the UBC Thunderbirds in the 81st Hardy Cup Championship here on the Canada West Football Showcase. Now, Calgary finished off the year atop the Canada West standings at 7-1. The only team that knocked them off was in the final week, the Alberta Golden Bears, and they met again last week in the semifinal, and the Dinos pulled out a hard-fought 39-22 decision to advance, and now get set for a UBC Thunderbird squad that went 6-2 during the regular year, knocking off Regina last week at home 28-21 in an unprecedented meeting here this afternoon in the long history of the Canada West. This is the first time the two schools have met 3 straight years to decide the Canada West football champion. In 2015, the Thunderbirds came into McMahon, pulled off a huge upset with a 34-26 decision en route to a Vanier Cup title that year. Calgary got retribution last year, although they nearly blew a huge lead at the half, but held on for a 46-43 decision. But once again, the Vanier Cup eluded them in 2016. So they play once again here for the Hardy Cup title. And for their thoughts upstairs, we go to the men calling it. Dustin Nielsen alongside Doug McLean. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Andy. And it's a similar story for the Dinos. Last week against the Golden Bears, they were without Michael Klukas. This week, here in this game, they will not have running back Jeshron Antwi, who was absolutely outstanding. The good news, they still have Hunter Carl, and Hunter Carl was terrific for them, consistent all the way through the regular season, over 760 yards receiving, and picked up last week.
He was very good last week. 10 catches, 145 yards. Calgary was forced to throw underneath a lot. You get some examples of that here. And the nice thing about Hunter Carl, he's a guy that will give you yards after catch. He's a physical receiver. He's got deceptive speed, and he can make things happen. With Antwi out and with Klukas again out this week, he's going to be crucial for Adam Sinagra to give Calgary a shot against this very good UBC defense.
And one of the big storylines last week was the ability of that Calgary defense to slow down the Canada West Player of the Year in Ed Ilnicki, the running back for the Golden Bears, and leading the way was Corey Robinson. He was a problem for the quarterback Brad Baker, and he was quarterback problems all year long. 7 sacks for Robinson, and once again getting to the quarterback last week.
He was very good. He had help, 3 sacks on the day last week for the Dinos, but what was more impressive was what you mentioned, the fact that they got after Ed Ilnicki. Only 81 yards on 21 carries, and a lot of those came very early in the football game. They shut down the running back that had more than 300 yards than any other running back in the country. So that was what was most impressive in my mind for the Dinos. They're going to face a bit of a different offense here today against UBC, but when you have a front like that, you can be very, very dominant.
One of the guys that they'll have to focus on shutting down today is one player that we think is one of the most dynamic probably in the country, in Travell Pinto. He's a dual threat. He can return kicks and he receives balls. I mean, if you want to hand it off to him, he could probably do that as well. 700 yards receiving, more than that, and over 1,000 yards all-purpose. He's just dangerous in all aspects of the game.
He really is. He is Mr. Everything for UBC. You get an example here of what he can do in the return game. As you talked about, Dustin, he's a very good receiver. This year, Canada West All-Star as a returner and receiver. Last year, he was a Canada West All-Star as a cornerback. This guy can really play all over the field. He is a dangerous weapon. UBC will want to get the ball in his hand, especially in great conditions like we have here today at McMahon. He could be a real X factor, I think, in a game like this.
Yeah, UBC hasn't needed him defensively this year. They've got 3 all-stars in their secondary, headlined by unanimous selection in Stavros Katsatonis, and he was absolutely amazing as a third-year guy throughout the season. 4 interceptions this year, and once again, he was a problem last week for Picton.
This is a guy, a third-year player out of Bakersfield, California. He's a physical safety. He's a guy that can really cause issues back there. He had a good example of quickly he closes on balls. He is a ball hawk, had 4 in the regular season. This is the one that he had last week against Regina. He's the Defensive Player of the Year in the conference, and as you talked about, anchors that secondary. It's going to be very different for what Sinagra has to face this week than last week. This is a dominant group back there. Sinagra's going to have to be very careful.
It's definitely going to be a challenge today for Adam Sinagra, the quarterback for the Dinos. So that's it for us. Let's send it back down to Andy Neal.
And Jets, the winner today, hosts the Mitchell Bowl next week against the Quebec champion. That's being decided between the reigning Vanier Cup champs, Laval and Montreal. So this game will decide whether the Mitchell Bowl will be here at McMahon Stadium or next week in Vancouver. The 3rd year in a row, the Thunderbirds and the Dinos for the 81st Hardy Cup, and it's next on the Canada West Football Showcase. Back at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Remembrance Day, thinking of the veterans who have served and are serving our country on this day. And it's a picture-perfect one here in Calgary, 3 degrees. And Darren Dupont would know a lot better about how cold it was last week, but 3 right now. Wind isn't really a factor, and it's all blue skies above us. There's Wayne Harris, 3rd year as head coach for the Calgary Dinos. And he was a champion last year for the first time as head coach. Let's send things over to Darren Dupont. Darren.
All right, thanks, Andy. Yes, much warmer today than it was here a week ago for the Hardy Cup semifinals. But for the Calgary Dinos, Jeshrin Antwi, starting running back, was a star in that game with 2 touchdowns, putting the Alberta Golden Bears away. He will not be in the lineup tonight. Now, if you remember late in that football game, he went down with a little lower body injury that he tweaked. He will not be able to play. Took part in 1 full practice. It was a low-contact practice. Wasn't able to finish. Didn't participate the rest of the week. Now, Wayne Harris and the Calgary Dinos are hopeful that if they move onto the Mitchell Bowl, that both he and receiver Michael Klukas will be available for next week's game. But for now, up for the first quarter we go to Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean. Guys?
Thank you very much, both Darren and Andy. And Darren, you said it's warmer down there, but you're still wearing gloves. So what's going on? It's a beautiful day down here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, and everybody loves a rubber match, and that's what we've got here today, Doug. And to be honest with you, we're not too sure what to expect between these 2 clubs.
We really aren't. When you look at the players they have, let's talk about those guys first. I mean, these are teams with weapons on both sides of the ball. They've got weapons in return, and the kickers are both very good too. So this is both teams filled with weapons, but missing some players. We haven't even talked about Marcus Davis, a guy who was a Canada West All-Star for UBC last year. He hasn't played most of the season, let alone the guys for Calgary and Klukas and Antwi. But we're concentrating on the guys here. Great conditions. It's going to be a great day.
Nico DeFonte kicks it away from Travell Pinto. That one bounces over the head of Cummings. He'll take it in the end zone and waste no time. He will take a knee there. And Calgary hammering that ball into the end zone to start this football game. And here's a look at UBC last week, Doug.
And UBC in a bit of snow in Vancouver. I'd like to say it doesn't snow much out there, but a little bit. Alex Morrison, he's been a big play guy for them throughout this year. But the thing I like the most about UBC and Michael O'Connor is how patient he is in the pocket. He will sit with pressure around him. He will be patient. And then he has the weapons that he can find with that patience. That's what they were able to do against Regina, built that first half lead. Regina got close, but could not get over the hump to make that game tight.
O'Connor here will start on his own 35. His team trailing 1-0 early. And O'Connor, quarterback option, he's going to flip that out to Cummings. And Cummings is able to barge ahead. He'll pick up about 5 or 6 yards. And we see O'Connor threatening a little bit there. And Cummings is a guy who had a couple of touchdowns on the year, averaged over 100 yards per game, though, on the ground, Doug.
He did, and one thing from last week, he got kicked out just before halftime, Ben Cummings did. So they went with Corey Nagata in the second half after the ejection of Ben Cummings. So
which allowed Regina to get back into that game a little bit.
It did, and so nice to have him back for a full game if you're UBC.
Now in the shotgun here, 2nd and 4 for O'Connor. And a quick hitter, far side. And that one will be close to a first down. First catch of the day for Travell Pinto. This will depend on the spot. It looks as though they're going to have it. They will, so they will move there. So an early touch for Cummings, an early touch for Pinto.
And that's what you want to see, and especially in a game like this. Nerves are high, guys are ready to go, whether you've been here or not. And just get the ball in guys' hands, especially your playmakers. Settle them down, get the first contact. I think that's a really smart early series here for UBC.
1st and 10 now for the visitors. From their own 45, O'Connor with 3 targets to his right, looks to his left, now dumps it off to Cummings out of the backfield. And Cummings will pick up about 4 or 5 more yards on another first down look.
A couple crossing routes for UBC over the middle, then they run Cummings out to the flat. And O'Connor looks quickly there. And that's a nice pickup on first down.
Looked as though that was his first read, actually.
I think it was. And again, you want to be in 2nd and short. So 2nd and 5, if you're UBC, you're pretty happy.
2nd and 5, working their way towards midfield here in the early stages of the 81st Hardy Cup. Now O'Connor with 2 men swinging underneath. And now he'll go far side, and that one bobbled by Travell Pinto, but he brings it in before he steps out of bounds. What a catch there in the early stages from Travell Pinto.
And there you get a good example of what I talked about a couple seconds ago. Michael O'Connor with pressure in his face, he does not panic. He's a big quarterback. He can see over the top alignment, and you can see right off the edge, pressure there, but patient, calm in the pocket, and finds Travell Pinto on the sideline. That's a nice catch, one-handed there by the playmaker, Mr. Everything for UBC.
Boston Rowe in coverage. He's an all-star on this Calgary defense. Empty backfield this time for O'Connor. Pressure coming right up the middle. Dumps it over the top to Ben Cummings. And Cummings is going to walk this into the end zone. UBC strikes first. Running back, Ben Cummings left wide open. And O'Connor took a big hit to find him. UBC on the board.
Bit of miscommunication between Jacob Jakubek and Micah Tights. They released Cummings, thinking they had safety help over top. Michael O'Connor just holds on to the ball for that extra split second. There you see that hesitation from Tights. And right in behind him, the running back on the post route. And UBC gets off to an early start here. Convert will make it 7-1.
And that extra point is hammered home by Greg Hutchins. And Ben Cummings, 2 catches and a carry on that first drive of the game for UBC. So the big guy's factoring in. Another look at that touchdown, wide open over the middle.
On the season, he's a guy they use out of the backfield. 19 catches, 162 yards, no touchdowns as a receiver. That changes here now. But again, just that miscommunication. The linebackers see Cummings. I don't think they were expecting him to go to the post. And they released him over top, nobody there. And that's a pretty easy pitch and catch for UBC.
Surprisingly, just the 3rd touchdown of the season for Cummings. He had 2 during the regular season and was held out of the end zone, I believe, last week. So this one over the middle. And O'Connor, how about the play of the big quarterback? I mean, O'Connor's 6'5", 230 pounds, so he's almost as big as most linemen, but he took a decent little bump to get that ball over the middle. At least he didn't panic and get rid of it too soon.
And he doesn't. That's the thing. He's a big quarterback, and he can take those hits, and he's big enough, like I said before, he can see over the top of oncoming linemen, and he is patient in there, and that's going to be something Calgary's going to have to be wary of.
First look at the return game for the Dinos, and that ball is taken back up to the 30 by Newsel and send it down to Darren DuPont.
All right, thanks, Dustin. Ben Cummings getting into the end zone, the opening drive. Take us through the thought process and the approach to that opening drive.
We just wanted to come out fast. We've been talking about it all week, coming out fast, so we just did that. We scored, and we're going to score a lot more today.
You've been on this team for all 3 straight now Hardy Cup appearances. How much of this is the rubber match for you guys in this locker room?
A lot. We kind of approach every game as a single game, but this game means a lot. I mean, it's Hardy Cup, you know?
Appreciate it. Congratulations on the touchdown.
Thank you very much, Darren. Sonegro's first pass of the day completed to Brandon Terra-Plumunden. And kind of what we saw last week, sort of underneath and a couple of extra yards from the receiver there, Doug.
That's exactly it. Calgary was very content against Alberta. Alberta only sent three men most of the game. They dropped 9 into coverage. I don't expect to see UBC do that quite as much. They like their linebackers. They're young linebackers, but they're very good. I expect to see more pressure in the face of Sonegra here today.
We'll hand this one off to Robert Stewart. And Stewart jammed up at the line. This one will depend on the spot. A good job by that UBC defense, and I think they've held him just short of the first down.
And there is one of those young linebackers, number 52, Ben Hladek, first year from Vernon. 30 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble during the regular season. Actually led the conference in fumble recoveries with 3. And it's not common that you'll see teams go with that young of a group. Elliot Graham, another linebacker, first-year player, they're content with what they have.
Josiah Joseph in the game, short yardage here for Calgary. He'll keep it and flip it outside. And we saw that a couple of times. We saw a few different looks from this Calgary team, short yardage. That one we saw a few times from Joseph last week where he just gets to the outside of the line.
As we hinted a little bit last week, teams are much more confident doing this now. 15 years ago, you would have never seen that. You would have not seen teams look to bounce it outside. Teams cutting off and taking the edge away from you. They don't want to risk that. But now quarterbacks will sort of read where they can go, and if they need to bounce it out, they will.
1st and 10 here for the Dinos. They'll work from their own 42, looking to answer back after an early UBC touchdown to Ben Cummings. Sonegra underneath again. This one will be complete for a short pickup. Tyler Ledwas with the first catch of the game for him. Had 1 catch last week as well.
A little bit of hurry up from Calgary. It's something we did not see against Alberta.
Here's a look at UBC's defense. Can't get much better than what they did this year. First in a number of categories. Now here's Stewart trying to kick it outside. And the running back will pick up more than enough for the first down. And you can say Robert Stewart's the backup behind Jeshron Antwi, but let's be honest, they both had close to the same number of carries during the regular season. Stewart is very familiar with this offense.
58 carries, 355 yards on the year for Stewart. Antwi had 429. So they've used them interchangeably.
Yep.
We saw that last week, even when Antwi was healthy.
Stewart did catch a few balls out of the backfield. That was Antwi's go-to move last week. We'll see if they involve Stewart in that again. They'll hand it off to Stewart this time, and that UBC defense waiting with open arms at midfield. Maybe 1 yard on that pickup. Looks like they're going to give them about half a yard, 1 yard. So it'll be 2nd and long situation here for the Dinos.
Saw that graphic a couple minutes ago. Tops in the conference are UBC in run defense, giving up just under 120 yards a game.
Sonegra now likely throwing in this situation, 2nd and 9 from midfield. Looking down the middle, now he's gonna roll out to his left. He's got some room to run, and he's gonna pick up the first down. Yes, extremely close to it. Defender closed quickly on him. That was Malcolm Lee trying to beat him to that first down marker. But Sonegra, we saw him do it with his legs last week a little bit too, Doug.
We did, and that time UBC does send 5. Sonegra, though, able to get outside, break contain. But you see that close from Malcolm Lee, one of those 3 Canada West All-Stars in the secondary for UBC. Closes quickly. That was a little closer than I think either you or I thought as Sonegra came to our sideline.
Yeah, when he was about 6 or 7 yards away from that first down marker, I thought he was going to get it for sure, but a very good job there by Lee to close. You mentioned the All-Stars, Malcolm Lee, Will Maxwell, and Katsantonis, who we talked about in the pregame. Here's a look what's happening out of town. Laval 22-8 over Montreal, and Western rolling right now 43-16. So Western, as expected, Doug, looking like they'll advance here.
17-16 after the first quarter, 26 unanswered points in the second quarter scored by the Mustangs.
1st and 10 here now. Sonegra, play action. He's going to look down the field. Too far for the intended target, as I believe he was looking for Richard Sandini down the field, and they didn't go down the field too often last week, and this time Sonegra just missed his man.
Yeah, had him open. Sandani on the post route, but Sonegra just airs that one out a little more. Takes a bit of a bump there right at the end. No call though.
2nd and 10 now. Ball on that UBC 45. Sonegra with Terra-Plumunden moving over to his right. 4 targets to the right now for Sonegra. This time overthrows the intended target around the 30. As he was looking for Hunter Carl, and that's a rare miss from Sinagra.
He got locked in on Carl. He was open. He also had Tyler Ledwos open at first down range. That would have been the easier throw likely for Sinagra. So he got locked in a little bit to the right side of the formation. But again, sailed another one like we saw on the previous play to Sindani.
That was Malcolm Lee finishing the tackle there on Hunter Carl. So Malcolm Lee has been all over the place defensively here in the early going for UBC. Nico DeFonte to let this thing fly from midfield. And it's a low punt that will bounce down and be taken by Pinto at the 5. Nowhere to go. Makes a couple of men miss. Gets it back up to about the 11. And that is where O'Connor and this UBC offense will march back out onto the field.
No points for the Dinos, but that's not a bad drive. March the ball, reestablish field position. You've got UBC pinned deep right now. So now it's up to the defense, and especially that front four that we've talked a lot about over the course of the last couple of weeks, to see if they can get into the face of Michael O'Connor.
It'll be interesting to see how the Dinos defense responds here, because last week against Alberta, the Bears marched the field 2 or 3 times to start that game, and then the Dinos defense shut them down. Now you've got UBC who came out, marched down the field. This is a big defensive possession here.
Well, for sure. And the biggest difference is UBC, that's a touchdown for UBC. They scored that for the Bears last week. That was the challenge. They could not cash in. Otherwise, that might be a different game. We might be watching the Golden Bears and UBC here today.
Nowhere to go there for Cummings, who looks like he came up with a little bit of a limp. It was Joel Van Pelt with the tackle. Cummings will remain in the ball game. Looked like he was limping a little bit on that first look that we had. Here's the Calgary defense. Not the UBC numbers, but still among the best in the conference, including the sack total. That D-line alone, the front 4 in the D-line combined for 17 sacks during the regular season. We'll see if they can get to O'Connor today. Empty backfield now. O'Connor and that line are going to shift to the left. Now he throws it, and that one incomplete. He was looking for Alex Morrison. Would have had enough for the first down, but now the T-Birds will be forced to kick this ball away, or will they?
Design rollout there. Yeah, we'll see if they decide to give up 2 here. Design rollout there for O'Connor. Had a couple options and went underneath there to Morrison, but just could not catch him on the sides. Good job there by Calgary to take away those options for O'Connor, and we'll see from the end zone if UBC does decide just to give up a pair here.
Was watching Hutchins in warm-up kicking from about this same spot, and he was putting him out to about the 50, but he will take the knee here. A flag also flies on that play, so UBC probably the wise decision here. Try to get that field position back in your favor.
It's going to be procedure against UBC. We'll see if Calgary makes them kick it again or just declines it. Looks like they're going to decline it. So 7-3 here right now.
Illegal procedure, 45. UBC did not report. That penalty is declined. Safety touch.
Here's a look at what the Dinos were able to do in the semifinal last week to book a home date here in the 81st Hardy Cup.
And this touchdown here to Colby Miller from Brad Baker tied the game at 16 in the 3rd quarter. The Golden Bears had not been able to cash in, but then the very first offensive play after that score, Abdul Rahim able to score a huge 88-yard touchdown for the Dinos, and that broke it open. And then this one late on 3rd and short, Jeshron Antwi able to break it outside, and that one really sealed it for the Dinos, and that was very late in the 4th quarter. This game was still in the balance late in that 4th, but Calgary, the veteran presence of the Dinos, able to overcome what was a pretty gutsy effort by the Alberta Golden Bears.
7-point game at that time, and Antwi sealed it away, and then they added a field goal late to pick up a comfortable victory in the end. That Abdel Rahim touchdown, that was his only catch of the game, but it was for 88 yards, and it was the biggest moment of the football game. So for the young receiver, his one play of the football game was a big one for Sinagra, who, when you watch that play again, Sinagra was moving to his right. He was moving his feet again. Doug, you want to break down the Hardy Cup history here between these two clubs?
Well, we mentioned the fact that it's the 3rd straight year these two teams have played, so the rubber match there, but this is the 11th time overall that they've played, and they're 5-5 coming into this one. So it's a rubber match historically too, and 3 of the 4 times that UBC has gone on to win the Vanier Cup, they've done it going through the Calgary Dinos in the Hardy Cup. So just a little bit of a side note there, but these are 2 programs that have been very dominant over the course of the last 30-35 years. UBC, especially in the early 80s, very, very good. Calgary good into the mid-90s and then struggled a bit, but now Calgary, of course, as we've talked about, 10th straight year in the Hardy Cup. They have been the dominant program, maybe in the country other than Laval.
We are just past the midway point here of the first quarter. Calgary trailing 7-3, and now they'll get this ball into the hands of a playmaker on the far side of the field as Adam Sonegra once again moving his legs to just give himself a little bit of a better angle there, Doug, to complete that pass.
And the Dinos love this. They just love running that receiver underneath. Tara Plamondon in this case, find him, and then he's able to turn his shoulders upfield, gets himself just shy of first down yardage. But the Dinos we've seen a lot of this over the course of the last few weeks.
Second and short. Joseph back in the game at quarterback. Bounced one out last time to the right. This time he'll take it to the left. Actually picks up about 3 or 4 yards on that carry, and he'll head back off to the sideline for Adam Sonegra to roll back in here.
What this is going to do, the fact that he's now bounced us outside twice, what it's going to do is it's going to spread that D-line out. The linebackers trying to figure out which gaps to take. They're going to want to seal that edge. That's going to open things up in the middle on those short yardage situations for Joseph.
First and 10 for the Dinos. They now work from their own 49. Sonegra 3 of 5 so far in the afternoon. Looking for his 4th completion of the day, and he's got it right over the middle. That'll be taken out at about the 43-yard line. Hunter Carl getting in the mix.
And that's what those little dumps out to the flat will do. It'll force UBC to step up, take that away, and it's going to give you single coverage on the outside to the likes of Hunter Carl, and that's what Calgary wants. Nice job there by Carl to pick up a first down.
On their own 43, and it looked as though a Calgary receiver may have jumped on that play. I think that the guy closest to us on the to the left of Sonegra may have moved a little early, but the officials will discuss, and it will be against the Dinos.
Saw that last week when Abdul Rahim was at first down yardage before the ball was snapped. He was pretty excited, and then shortly thereafter had that 88-yard touchdown.
Calgary, number 81.
Tyler
5-yard
Ledwall is
penalty,
another one of the
first down
younger
repeated.
receivers for the Dinos. Little anxious, jumped the line there, so that'll back his team up 5 yards, and it'll be 1st and 15 from the 48 here for the Dinos. Trailing 7-3 with just over 6 minutes remaining in the first quarter of the 81st Hardy Cup. Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean with you on an absolutely beautiful day here in Calgary. Sonegra fakes the handoff, throws it low, but it's scooped up and taken up the sideline, pushed out of bounds there. And Tara Plamondon with his 3rd catch of the football game, Doug. Last week, he only had 3 catches. So he's well on pace to crush that this week.
That's a nice catch there by Tara Plamondon. That's a tough one when you're breaking hard to the outside, have that pass come a little bit behind you and at your knees. So that's a nice job by him to bring that one in and put it in still 2nd and long for Calgary after the penalty.
Yeah, 5-yard pickup there for Tara Plamondon. So it will still be 2nd and 10. Sonegra with 6 options down the field. He'll come over the middle, and that'll be complete, and that will be enough for the first down. Actually, that ball popped loose, and they'll say incomplete. Let's see here.
One official saying it's a catch. Now they're going to have a quick conversation. A little more pressure that Sonegra's seeing here today than he saw last week against Alberta.
Tyler Ledwas is down on the field. And he took off his helmet immediately and reached for his leg, I believe. Training staff is out there. Let's see if we can get another look at what happened here, Doug.
Looks like that leg just caught in the turf. See that right there, whether it's his ankle or his knee, just catches in the turf, and you can already see the grimace on his face as soon as he went down. The UBC players knew it too.
Looked like it kind of got caught and extended it a little bit, kind of pushed back in. And the training staff quickly out onto the field here to tend to the receiver for the Calgary Dinos. Here's another look at it from a lower angle.
You just see him as he comes across, just right there. That right ankle looks like he rolled it. He went and grabbed his knee, but that right ankle seemed to roll too.
That was a good look at the ankle. You're right. That one definitely, you could see that right ankle gave out on him underneath. But when he first took off his helmet, it looked as though he did reach for his knee. So they're working on that right leg of Tyler Ledwos. And when you look at what Calgary had without Klukas, without Jesron Antwi, they've got Hunter Carl, they've got Tara Plamondon, but they're probably going to need somebody else to step up. Maybe it is Sandini today. Maybe it's Tyler Ledwos. Maybe it's Abdel Rahim again. But when you're lacking maybe a couple options due to injury, you need to have everybody else healthy.
Well, that's exactly it. And Ledwos, as we talked about, had 1 catch in the regular season, had 2 last week for 9 yards. But you just can't afford to have more bodies go down. That becomes a challenge in terms of who your weapons are. One thing, you know who your weapons are. It's still going to be Hunter Carl, it's still going to be Stewart especially. But just having that experience and having guys that have practiced all week, and you suddenly start to see guys who have seen second team reps throughout the week. It changes what you want and can do.
Well, they do give him credit for the catch, so it's a first down here on the UBC 30. Sonegra, he'll hand it off to Stewart right up the middle, and he'll be wrapped up from behind and taken down there by Connor Griffiths. He's able to pick up about 3 or 4 yards on that carry.
So Calgary has liked to go through it a good part of this season, rotating running backs. Primarily, of course, it's been Antwi and Stewart. We'll see today if Alessandro Molnar, first-year player to Calgary, he had 26 carries on the season himself. We'll see if he factors into this game a little bit too to give another look for the Dinos.
2nd and 7 from the 27. Sonegra throwing this time. He's going to look over the middle, and that will be complete to the end zone. Touchdown, Hunter Carl. Who else for the Dinos? And Calgary takes the lead.
Just really simple pitch and catch football. Nice dig route there by Carl. And Sonegra hits him dead where he had to on the run. You can see Sonegra look off and then come back to Carl. And just the pursuit angles of UBC not able to keep him out of the end zone. So the Dinos respond to that early UBC touchdown to take their first lead of the game.
Nico DeFonte will come out for the extra point to make it a 3-point Calgary lead with 4:40 remaining here in the first quarter of the 81st Hardy Cup. And I know we'll get a couple more looks at it here as a flag flies on the kick, one from both sides of the field. I'm not sure, and we've watched a lot of games this year, I'm not sure if there's a receiver in the conference that runs that route better than Hunter Carl.
I agree with you. You can see the separation that he has coming right across there on A.J. Blackwell, who's playing linebacker, started the season in the secondary. But you're right, and he's deceptively quick. He's a guy that can create separation. He's got great hands. We've seen that. And players can't, the pursuit angles you have to limit his gains are tough, because he is a lot quicker than I think players think.
You're constantly chasing him on that crossing route, and unless you're getting help on the other side, for example, on that play, it was Malcolm Lee who just couldn't get there in time. Unless you're getting help on there, that's a very tough play to defend. When they get ball to Hunter Carl, who had 56 catches on the season, 7 touchdowns on the season, and last week he had 10 catches for 145 yards. So without Michael Klukas, they need Hunter Carl to almost be their everything, and he was up to the task there.
Well, it's well-designed play there by Calgary, clear out to that side so as he comes underneath. That support for UBC isn't there. And again, you saw Blackwell in chase, just unable to keep up to number 86.
10-7, Dinos leading. They'll actually kick this ball from the 50 after a flag against UBC. This will come back down to Cummings, and Cummings will give up a point there. Let's send it down to Darren DuPont on the Dinos sideline.
All right, Hunter, how important not only to score, but to make sure you replied early to that UBC score?
It's huge. I mean, this is the 3rd time we played them in a row, and every time it's a shootout. So the offense is going to go back and forth, and hopefully our defense and special teams can keep playing like they're playing.
You don't have Michael Klukas opposite you, but where is this Calgary passing attack at right now? Because you had a great week last week and now off to a good start today.
It doesn't change. I mean, it's the same as last year. Next man up. You got to deal with injuries as they come. So young guys are stepping up. That's all we can ask for.
Appreciate this, Carl. Congratulations.
Bonus points for the mustache on Hunter Carl.
I was just going to say that. I'm not sure how many points that gives him over the course of the game, but he earned it.
I'm just impressed that Darren DuPont went back to the 70s to chat with Hunter Carl on the sidelines. That was terrific. The Dinos here with a first down completion, and that one will move them up to about the 45. As Michael O'Connor, so steady, calm in the pocket early in this game. This is a big game. I know he's been here before, but very calm in that pocket for UBC.
And the nice thing about a calm quarterback in the pocket is that it settles everybody else down. It settles, I mean, things are going to break down, things are going to happen, but a steady quarterback, a presence back there just settles everyone down on the offense.
Here's Ben Cummings. He's going to pick up another first down. A good job kicking that almost a counter out to the right of that line and finding a lot of room to run here, especially last week after watching what Calgary did to the best rushing team in the country. It's good to see Cummings for UBC pick up some yards here early.
And the Golden Bears number 4, Ediel Nicky, was able to do that early in the game, bounce it outside, and then Calgary forced everything back inside and then just jammed the box and didn't allow Elnicki anything. We'll see if UBC can continue to pound the corners.
1st and 10 for O'Connor. He was going to look down the field, and looked like that play was disrupted about 10 yards before where that ball was supposed to land in the hands of Marshall Cook, who had a catch earlier on this drive.
Good coverage there by Matthew Lusician, who's a first-year halfback from here in Calgary.
Played corner last week.
Yep, has moved back inside, but nice coverage there. And that ball, as you said, Dustin, sailed over the top of the head of number 81, Marshall Cook.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 here from the Calgary 54 for O'Connor and the T-Birds. 11-7, they trail right now. Empty backfield here, O'Connor, a ton of time. Now he's going to be forced to his left, tries to dump it off underneath to Cummings, and that'll be complete. We do have a flag. It's either a hold on the Thunderbirds, unless they didn't hit O'Connor late. I didn't see anything there.
No, that's going to be a hold on Diego Alatorre, the left tackle, first-year left tackle for UBC from Guadalajara, Mexico. And because O'Connor had held that ball a little bit longer, Alatorre had to do the same. Draws the flag, but the gain will push the Dinos to decline the penalty and force UBC to kick the ball away.
So a couple of pretty good defensive outings here for this Dinos group. After giving up the early touchdown, they've calmed down nicely, Doug.
Yeah, I think they have, and you saw there a couple plays ago, UBC trying to extend the field again to Marshall Cook, unable to do it. Calgary making that adjustment to take that deep ball away, and so it's a nice turn of events for the Dinos after that hot start for the Thunderbirds.
2 returners waiting back for this punt from Hutchins, and he'll let it fly from just inside his own 50. This will come down to Eric Nusel at the 18. Nusel's going to try to kick it outside, and a good job by UBC return team downfield there, and they wrapped him up in a hurry. Well, we talked about the players that the Dinos do have. What about a player they don't have? And that was Jeshron Antwi, who was outstanding last week, a true difference maker against the Golden Bears.
He was 10 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground. There's the touchdown through the air that he had. 9 catches last week, 63 yards, and this is the touchdown late that really sealed it for the Dinos. He did go to the game before that play.
Yes, he did.
But came back, scored that touchdown, seemed to be fine, but then out this week. So it is a loss because of that partner system they like to have between Antwi and Stewart. So they missed that here today, and that ability, that explosive ability out of the backfield as a receiver as well as a running back. That's a big loss for the Dinos.
Timeout called here by quarterback Adam Sinegra. Saw something that he did not like. Yeah, when we first talked about Antwi not playing today, we both said, well, that's weird. I mean, he finished the game last week. But then we remembered that he actually was banged up at one point in the game. They came out and took a look at him, and then he returned. Ed Elnicki had similar thing earlier in the game than Antwi, and he is not here today. As another look at the dominance of the Calgary Dinos here, Doug.
At some point, every team in the conference has run through the Calgary Dinos, even the Simon Fraser clan back in 2008 before they left the Canada West. But Calgary, I mean, that is just unbelievable to have that kind of consistent dominance in a conference that has produced a lot of good football teams over the years. But Calgary in the last decade has been spectacular.
Now Sinegra, once again, fakes that handoff to Stewart. Will throw it underneath, and that will be close to enough for the first down. And then Tara Plumundon again. So a steady diet here. Tara Plumundon and Hunter Carl, 2 of the veteran receivers that this group has.
Last week, a lot of this play was going to Antwi. Today, it's Tara Plumundon coming underneath the formation again. And the nice thing for Calgary right now is they're getting him in space. He's able to turn his shoulders upfield and pick up those valuable extra yards. In that case, enough for a first down.
1st and 10 now from the 29 here for Sinegra. Just over 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. His team leads 11-7. This time he'll hand it off to Stewart right up the middle, and Stewart's gonna bust one. Stewart still going. Will he be tracked down from behind? Yes, tackle made by Ben Laddick, but a big run.
Well, maybe that answers our question. Do they miss Antwi? Well, of course they do, but they've got a pretty good guy right here in Stewart, and it just breaks a couple tackles, gets to that second level, and then speed again. And that's a heck of a tackle by Ben Laddick. Otherwise, Stewart might have been off to the races.
Huge hole for Stewart to bust that one right up the middle. Now, once again, another swing pass underneath. And this one will go for about 2 or 3 yards to Hunter Carl. So it's Carl coming one way across the field, Terrell Plumundon coming the other, and Stewart right up the middle.
And eventually what this is going to do is open up single coverage deep downfield, because the eyes of the secondary are going to have to be upfield looking for these swing passes. And it's going to open up somebody deep, and we'll wait to see when Calgary decides to take that shot.
2nd and 7 here for the Dinos. Sinegra. This time he'll give it to Stewart. And Stewart, good second effort. Looks as though he's going to have enough for the first down. Looked as though they might have had him wrapped up, but he did a good job breaking it back up the field.
And he had to get to the 35-yard line. Just did, so that will be enough for a first down.
7-yard pickup there on the ground for Stewart, who has to be a little excited. I mean, here you are in the Hardy Cup, and now they don't have this 2-man rotation that they're going to have in the backfield. It's all on Robert Stewart today.
Yeah, and players love that. Players love the fact that they are the guy, and he's a second-year player from here in Calgary. So, for sure, players love that opportunity, and some players relish it, some players flourish in it, some players don't. But so far, Robert Stewart is definitely enjoying that spotlight.
This is a look here at 22 for UBC. Isaiah Joseph, 3 sacks on the season. He is down. Looks as though they're working on his core area there. He wanted to get up. He looked like he was going to get up, and they said, sit back down for a second. So
he came off earlier with a bit of an injury. Looked to be holding his arm at that point in time. But sitting down again, first-year player from Hamilton, led UBC actually with 3 sacks during the regular season.
Good way for a first-year guy to break into the conference.
This is a very young UBC defense. Even if you look into the secondary, Peyton LaGrange, first-year player from just up the road in Red Deer. And there you can see, just as he sticks that arm out to make that tackle, and sometimes you can get those stingers, those burners. Not sure if that's what it was for Joseph, but we'll keep an eye if he comes back in the game.
1st and 10 from the 35 here. Sinegra once again will fake that handoff, rolls to his right, throws it down the field, and that one up and out of the reach of the intended targeting. Good job coverage there from Peyton LaGrange as well, as Justin Daciak couldn't bring it in.
That is a dangerous throw as Sinegra gets outside on the play action. You see Carl, they're starting to take that away. They get good push up field. And that ball floated a little bit there. And sometimes you got to be careful, those ones that you're dumping out. You just want to get rid of it. I think that's what he was trying to do, but didn't get as much on it as he probably would have liked.
2nd and 10 now on the 35. 4 targets to the right here for Sinegra. Stewart stays in there to block. Sinegra, once again, that's the 2nd time in that same spot that he has overthrown the intended target.
And as we talked about on the last time, he had Carl, the tougher throw to the far side of the field, and he had Justin Daciak past the first down marker right straight in front of him. So he gets locked in a little bit again, looking to that far side of the field and sails one over top of the head of Hunter Carl.
Very interesting that it was the exact same play that we saw earlier in the game. I wonder if he's expecting a little bit different route to be run in that situation.
Well,
maybe.
We saw a little bit of that against Alberta too. Alberta dropped 9 into coverage most of the game, and some receivers popped open up for Sinegra, but he dumped it off underneath a lot more often.
42-yard attempt here for Defonte is wide left. Travell Pinto's going to bring it out, and Travell Pinto's going to take it to the 20. Travell Pinto up to the 35, a flag at the 10. So this one might be coming back, but that's what we were talking about, the dangerous playmaking ability of one Travell Pinto.
Especially field goal coverage. You got offensive linemen trying to cover downfield, and Pinto knew he had room, and that flag came out pretty late, actually.
He was well beyond that point when that flag came out.
But it is going to bring
During
it back.
the return, holding.
But you can
UBC,
see, as we've
number
mentioned from the
47.
opening to
10-yard
now,
penalty,
Travell Pinto
first
so
down.
dangerous, shifty, and just extremely fast.
Correction.
Here's a good look at it from the back view, Doug.
See if we can catch where the penalty comes. It's a hole. You can see it right there. That's Peyton LaGrange.
A little bit of a size mismatch there for LaGrange.
Yeah. Didn't catch the number on the Calgary player,
Holy
but
smokes.
considering you could see his whole head and chest above LaGrange, I'd say you're right. That was a bit of a mismatch.
So the T-Birds will start on their own 7. O'Connor throwing here. near side, and that will be complete to Marshall Cook, his second catch of the game. He'll be about 2 or 3 yards short of the first down, but we were talking about Travell Pinto. You know he's going to be involved offensively. Alex Morrison, Trey Kellogg. Who else steps up? And Marshall Cook, who had 2 catches last week, now has 2 catches here today as well. Only had 9 catches during the regular season.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And sometimes guys in the playoffs have to step up and play a bigger role. And Marshall Cook is a guy that, like you said, Dustin, only 9 catches on the season, but they do miss Marcus Davis, who's been out most of the year with that knee injury.
3 targets to the left here for O'Connor. Big front there to hand that ball off to Cummings. And Cummings will be short of the first down. It'll be close, but he should be short here on this play. And O'Connor's running over to the sideline, barking there, trying to let his team know what is going to happen to start the second quarter through the first quarter. 11-7, the home side Dinos leading the T-Birds in the 81st Hardy Cup.
Well, Ben Cummings with a touchdown catch for UBC. Hunter Carl in response for the Calgary Dinos, and it's the host Dinos with an 11-7 lead over the Thunderbirds in the 81st Hardy Cup Championship here in Calgary. Well, Adam Zanagra keeping on a long list of terrific quarterbacks that the Dinos have had in these Hardy Cup Championships, and one of those includes Andrew Buckley, who's still playing here in Calgary, but with the CFL's Stampeders. He was a big part of Calgary's success over the years, the last over a number of years, and now with the Stampeders, he's thrown his first CFL touchdown pass in Week 6 against the Hamilton Ticats. He's backing up Bo Levi Mitchell, got his first start last week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as well, and so realized his dream of playing for the UFC Dinos, but life also went a little bit further than the dream by giving him a chance to play professionally with the Calgary Stampeders, and he and Anthony Parker, another former Dino, here at the game today. In fact, Buckley's first touchdown throw in the CFL was to Parker, so Dino to Dino in that game against Hamilton at the end of July. So here, the start of the second quarter with the Dinos leading. Back upstairs, Dustin Nielsen and Doug McClain.
Thank you very much, Andy Neal. And there's a look at your first quarter stats, 11-7. Of course, we know the score. What else stands out for you there, Doug?
Well, time of possession certainly stands out. 9.5 minutes for Calgary. UBC, obviously with that big score early on, but have not been able to really generate a whole lot since. Look at the individual numbers. Both quarterbacks strong days so far. 7 for 9 for O'Connor, 90 yards, the 1 touchdown, the 54-yarder to Ben Cummings. And Adam Sinagra, 9 for 13, 102 yards. So again, good, strong possession football here so far for both teams.
Calgary running back Robert Stewart, 6 carries for 52 yards, including that big one for 35. 3rd and short, and the UBC Thunderbirds might be stuffed here on their own 15. What a play by the Calgary defense. Boston Rowe. Wow.
Cole Meyer into the game, the backup quarterback, and he tried to bounce it out, just could not get there. And they're going to measure this, but I don't think he got anywhere near it. You can see just that great surge, and Boston Rowe, as you said, Dustin, comes in to clean it up. He really had to get past. There's no way this is no chance this is a first down. What a huge turn of events. You can see it clearly there. Dino football, huge stop. That front 4 again, supported by those linebackers, come through for Calgary.
That's the danger of trying to bounce it to the outside,
exactly.
Because all of a sudden you've got a wide open Boston Rowe coming at you, and most of the time you're not going to break that tackle.
Now, I'm not a coach. I'm probably old school in the sense I go up the middle. To me, you've got 5 big bodies in front of you. Let them surge. Don't put that on your quarterback. But Cole Meyer just had nothing going, could not get that push. And that is a huge play in this early in this football game.
So how's this for field position to start a drive? Sinegra, he'll hand it off to Stewart, trying to get away. Broke a couple of tackles and rumbles his way down to near first down at the 7. Robert Stewart straight up the middle.
Yeah, you love to see that from your running back. Guy just does not want to go down. Get a look at it here. Initial contact right there, the jersey grab. But he keeps those feet moving. And that's a first down for the Dinos.
Dante Bagini with the jersey grab, but Robert Stewart would have none of it. And he did get 10, so it'll be first and goal from the 7 here for Sinegra, trying to take advantage of a turnover on downs. They'll hand it off to Stewart again, trying to bounce it to the right. Breaks a couple of tackles, still going. And finally gang tackled at the 2. Malcolm Lee, one of the Thunderbird defenders, in on that.
What else can you ask for from Robert Stewart there? Gets again to the outside. UBC has him held up with a minimal gain. There's that initial contact. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys have to come in to bring down Robert Stewart. And you love that. And even if it's not a huge gain, that kind of energy just elevates your bench. Teams love seeing that, especially from a running back just pushing for yards.
2 of those guys he were dragging were Canada West All-Stars on the season. Now here they'll hand it off again, trying to plunge ahead, and that one will be close. But not enough to Stewart.
So Joseph comes in that time for Sinegra and hands off, and now a late flag.
Wow, very late flag. Joseph hands it off, and Stewart gets stopped there. Good play defensively. Katsatonis in on that tackle.
This will be huge. If it's against UBC, that's a new set of downs for the Dinos inside the 1-yard line.
Definitely an undisciplined penalty coming at the end of that play, and the officials will discuss, Doug, because you mentioned it. This is a huge moment in the football game.
I didn't get a look as to what might have happened. My guess, it didn't look like there was any pushing. Might have been just a little bit of chirping going on down there. But the officials having a pretty hearty conversation.
Now here's the call.
Objectionable conduct, 96, BC.
Objectionable conduct against UBC.
Calgary?
That's number
Correction
96.
On that.
We don't have a
Objectionable
96
conduct,
on our...
96, Calgary, 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Okay, now we get it
Okay,
right. It's on. Yeah, there we
It's
go.
against Calgary, who's Matthew Carson.
Yeah, so
we're scrambling to find a 96 here in UBC. We're like, what's going on? 96. Matthew Carson takes the objectionable conduct, so this is huge for UBC. Now it'll be a field goal attempt for Nico DeFonte.
That's a big swing, and that's a big penalty to take. No matter whether it was UBC or Calgary, when you're down in that situation, that's a big penalty. And I knew I've lost my mind a little bit, but glad to know I haven't completely lost it. Because you and I we've got papers everywhere, but not one of them had UBC 96 on it.
DeFonte hits that field goal, missed one earlier. 14-7 now, the Dinos lead, but that could have been much, much worse. You turn the ball over on downs inside your own 20. Calgary marches it down. It would have been 3rd and half a yard. You have to think they would have capitalized on that, and then it's an objectionable conduct penalty well after the play by Matthew Carson.
Yeah, you just simply in a game like this cannot have that. You absolutely have to, whether it's the pushing and shoving, whether it's talking, whatever it is, that cannot happen at any point, but certainly in a game like this. I know Wayne Harris, head coach of the Dinos, will not be pleased with what transpired there for the Dinos.
Here's O'Connor throwing now, empty backfield. He's going to look down the field. That's up for grabs. Almost picked off. Now it is. No, we're going to blow it down. It hit the turf. And boy, Calgary is acting like it did not hit the turf. They are freaking out there right now. Yeah, the officials are going to come together here for a discussion.
Nick Stat's the one right now most actively trying to recreate what happened so the officials can see. We'll get a good look at it here. Initially, he is open.
Oh, that hit a leg.
That is an interception. You kind of lose it with the crossbar, but that angle definitely shows you that that's an interception. It's actually Pinto who kicked it back up.
If I break this down properly, it went off of Schmidt's hands, off of Lucision, off the leg of Pinto, and then back to Lucision.
There you see Pinto. I don't think he even sees it, but he does kick it up. That ball never touches the turf. And you'll usually see players who get a little excited at a play that's close, but you can tell that the Dinos knew that thing had not hit the turf. Of course, we don't have the benefit of video review officially, despite the fact it is shown on the big screen here at McMahon.
The Calgary players were yelling at the officials to look at the big screen. They can't look at the big screen. They're discussing it here now. The original call was incomplete pass.
On the play, the ball hit the foot, bounced up, was intercepted by Calgary.
Calgary ball. As the officials come together and give them credit, they get it right. So a big play by the Calgary defense, and it's Matthew Decision who managed to hang on to that ball. Now Blake Nill's going to lose it.
Blake Nill, I can understand why Blake Nill's upset, but that's, like you said, Dustin, give credit to the officials. That's a really good job by them to come together and have the conversation to see, because the official on the play right there to the right of your screen does not see it. The ball almost touches, it doesn't. And then Pinto just kind of off that left heel, and it clearly does not hit the ground. That's not really that close when you break it down. Great job by our crew there to find that one. And Nill just going crazy. I can understand, but I think he'd be going equally crazy the other way if the situation had been reversed.
A huge and strange play in this football game. Now Stewart's going back to work. He will not be stopped today. Robert Stewart having himself a day, about 7 yards on that first down carry. That'll put him over 70 on 10 carries.
As you said, 355 yards all told on the season for Stewart. Last week against the Golden Bears, 9 for 76.
Calgary not messing around here. They'll move this quickly. They'll kick it outside this time to Stewart. Oh, he got hammered, but he also picked up the first down. And Stavros Katsantonis shut him down, but not quick enough. And Calgary will get a fresh set of downs here.
Katsantonis hits hard. We know that. But again, initially looked up the middle, but nothing there. Bounces it outside, and then Katsantonis closes with some help. But Calgary right now running the ball. Their offensive line, who were stellar last year, they've been very good again against this strong front seven UBC. They're opening up holes for Stewart.
Now a quick hitter, and this one will pick up about 5 yards. A good push actually there from the Dinos as some of the big boys got up there to help Abdel Rahim, and he'll pick up about 7 or 8. That's his second catch of the season.
That'll hurt his average a little bit.
He was at 88 yards per catch. That one gets brought back a little bit.
Nice play there by AJ Blackwell. He played the first game of this, or first 3 games, sorry, of the season, then was out until returning last week in the playoffs against Regina and had 8 tackles.
Stewart again, right up the middle. And he tried to spin his way towards a first down.
I think you're getting a really good sense here today of why the Dinos are so good. Oftentimes people think if teams are dominant, it's because they're explosive and they can do lots of things on either side of the ball. You can see right now the Dinos are willing to just dump it underneath. They're willing to pound it against this UBC front seven. And again, I think we're going to see it at some point where they look to go over the top. This is a deep and balanced Calgary attack.
Stewart already at 83 yards. How about some more? Right up the middle again. And he'll take this down to the UBC 50. So Calgary here just with some big boy running this ball right up the middle.
As we saw after the first quarter, the time of possession really in favor of Calgary. And what you're starting to see now as they continue to pound away on the ground, you start to really fatigue those linebackers and D linemen for the UBC Thunderbirds. And so Calgary will just continue to likely pound away here right now until UBC proves they can slow it down.
14-7, Calgary leads. Sinegra, Stewart again, up the middle again. First down again here for Calgary.
And if you look at the overall matchup, Calgary's run versus UBC's run defense, Calgary 159 yards a game on the ground, 12th best in the country. For UBC, 119 yards rushing allowed. That's 6th best in the country, not just in Canada West, in Canada. And right now, Calgary just going right down their throats.
Stewart to the sideline here. So as though he'll just get a little bit of a breather. Now Sinegra's going to throw. He's going to look over the middle, and that one defended well, but not well enough. A flag thrown on the play. And Malcolm Lee is not happy as he believes he did not interfere with Richard Sandini. And we'll definitely get another look at this one.
From our angle here, hard to tell whether there was contact made. He's right on the back. This angle will be perfect. and a little bit early. That's the right call, no question. And there's that shot. They go double tight ends and then look to take that shot with single coverage down the field.
Forward
Defended
pass
it well.
interference. UBC, number 9, 15-yard penalty.
Defended it
First
well.
down.
But just a little bit too early, as you mentioned.
A little bit early there. And Malcolm Lee, Canada West All-Star, just as he tried to reach with that left arm, I think he came through the back of Sindani. And Calgary will get the ball at the UBC 31.
And now they'll try to go up the middle again. And this time, pretty good job there by the UBC defense. Have to think that if you're going to keep doing what you mentioned, you know, run the ball, take a shot. Sindani's a guy that can probably do some damage for you, I would think, with his speed. I mean, he's a draft pick in the Canadian Football League.
And he's a fifth-year guy. I mean, this guy, 23 catches on the year, so not a primary target for Adam Sinagra, but fifth-year guy from Regina. So when you have Klukas out, you'll look to your veterans, and he's one of them.
Sinagra throwing here, some pressure from UBC, so he'll dump it off underneath. Couple of chances here to wrap up Brandon Terra-Plumonden. And eventually they will. So you have to give the UBC defense some credit there, Doug, because that's a play that's been near unstoppable. Now it's going to be 3rd and 4.
Yeah, great close there by UBC. Katsantonis reads this. You see it early, reads it on Plumonden. But the second effort from Calgary that we've seen throughout this first half, whether it's been Stewart, whether it's been receivers, Joseph in short yardage, this team, I mean, there is an effort level you're seeing from the Calgary Dinos that's, they want this one, they want this badly.
Nico DeFonte, 1 of 2 on the afternoon, a beautiful afternoon here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary for the 81st Hardy Cup. And DeFonte, this kick is up, and that one is good. So the lead grows to 10 with 8:30 remaining in the first half, 17-7. The Dinos lead. DeFonte last week, well, he was busy. 6 of 7 last week, Doug.
It was a real kicker's paradise last week, and not in great conditions necessarily either. Like you said, 6 for 7. Brent Arthur for the Golden Bears, 5 for 6. So 11 field goals on the day, and you like that. You obviously you rely on your kicker, but right now for UBC, despite the fact they're trailing by 10, they're giving up field goals. They're not giving up touchdowns. That's a huge point for UBC, despite the fact that Calgary has put up 228 yards of offense already here in this first half.
Now they need to get their offense going. Scored on the first possession of the football game and have not really been close since. Here's a handoff to Cummings. He'll pick up about 5 yards on that first down carry. What have you seen from the UBC offense that maybe's not working here in the first half, Doug?
Well, the biggest thing right now, I think, is some of the pressure that O'Connor's seeing. The other thing, too, is that again, the front four, and we talked about them so much, but really taking away those running lanes for Ben Cummings.
Now they'll hand it off again to Cummings, and a good job to avoid a couple of tackles, but the Dinos are going to wrap him up about a yard or two short of a first down. So this will be 3rd down situation here for UBC.
Sorry, Dustin, the spot will be key, and they're going to mark him not quite 2 yards shy of that first down, and that's going to force
Have to kick
a
this
UBC
away.
kick. And so again, they try to go on the ground on 2nd down, and Calgary just giving them absolutely nothing. And that's a credit to the linebackers too, filling those gaps, taking away, making sure that Cummings cannot get to that second level where he can be very dangerous.
Greg Hutchins warming up the leg just inside his own 30. Eric Newsel, one of the 2 returners back here for Calgary. We've got 2 returners back on these punts today. And Hutchins, a high kick that's going to come down at about the 35. Newsel takes it there, and the flag flies for no yards. And he'll get it back up to about the 38-yard line. Tack on a few more here, and decent field position for Adam Sinagra and the Calgary offense.
It'll be great field position. That 15-yard penalty is going to march them up just inside their
No yards.
inside
UBC,
midfield.
Number 32.
And UBC, that
15-yard
high
penalty,
kick.
point of possession.
Lots of
First
hang
down.
time, but not deep enough. And for that coverage team, you're not quite aware of where that ball is going to come down. So in that case, multiple players inside that 5-yard restraining area. And so Calgary has eventually move up just outside their own 50-yard line.
And with a 17-7 lead and just over 7 minutes remaining here in the second quarter, a look at Blake Nill, who has to be a little frustrated with his offense, I would think, right now. The defense, you mentioned, they've held him to a few field goals here. Could have been worse. Calgary obviously penalty killed them on the one opportunity because they would have been 3rd and half a yard basically on the knocking on the door against that UBC defense. So look at Blake Nill right now. We know he was fired up earlier in the game because of that call that they ended up getting correct. The question I have here with this UBC offense, and Calgary's offense will be on the field here right away, but Travell Pinto has 2 catches so far today. They both came early on that first drive. I know they tried to go downfield to him that one time, but you almost feel like you need to get him involved a little bit more. Let's send it down to Darren DuPont on the sideline.
Yeah, guys. Well, when I talked to Blake Nill prior to this afternoon's game, the biggest difference, he says, is the age in these two teams. And you look at the Calgary defense, you've got veterans all over the place. You've got a very strong defensive line, linebacking core, and secondary. But for the UBC Thunderbirds, he says it's the first and second year players that really make the difference for his team. And he points out Ben Laddick, a true freshman out of Vernon Secondary, 18 years old, was the Canada West Defensive Player of the Week, had 9.5 tackles against Regina. He started the year as a second string, but he came in week number 2, pulled up a fumble recovery, 6.5 tackles, never looked back, has become a starter. It's young players like that for Blake Nill's team that have allowed him to get to this area, and he needs them to match the intensity of a very veteran Calgary Dino group, guys.
It's a good point from Darren DuPont about the differences in these two defenses.
Yeah, very young, and Blake Nill mentioned that early on in the season, and you can see there you got a quick look at the time of possession. Well in favor of Calgary.
And once again, a heck of a second effort running the ball from Robert Stewart. And he's going to pick up about 9 yards on that first down carry.
You saw Blake Nill having a pretty intense conversation. We're joking a little bit here that we think every conversation Blake Nill has is an intense one. And the officials taking the listening side of that one. I think it was a pretty one-way chat.
Now it'll be short yardage situation here for the Dinos. Need about a yard, maybe a little bit more. And once again, Joseph in the game, and he will kick it to the left side of the line here. So 3 times on short yardage, they've decided to kick that ball outside, Doug, and they've really had no problems getting what they needed.
Well, UBC has not been able to seal that edge at all, and so for Joseph, it has been pretty easy. Just to quickly get back to what you were saying before we went down to Darren, and I think it's a really good thought in terms of where UBC's offense is at. And it's funny when you watch games, teams that score early and especially score big early like UBC did, sometimes that galvanizes the defense. And that's almost what you've seen here from Calgary. And it's sparked their offense. And again, we've talked so many times already about the second effort from the likes of Tara Plamondon and Robert Stewart, but sometimes those early plays just settle a team down and they can kind of build from there, where you'd think the opposite would be the case, that it might cause a little bit of angst or panic.
Stewart there with the carry. UBC brought some pressure that time on the far side of the field, and now Stewart is over 100 yards on the day. He came into this game averaging 59 on the season, through the regular season at least. So a huge day here for Robert Stewart.
15 carries already. He's a quarter of the way to what he had throughout the whole season.
Now Sinegra gonna have to scramble around a bit, rolls to his right, pressure coming, steps back so he can still throw this ball, and that is complete. Got it into the hands of Del Rahim for his second catch of the afternoon, and a good job by him to come back to his quarterback.
Very good job, like you said. That's a great point, to come back to the ball, help your quarterback out. Lots of time again for Sinegra. The pursuit comes late, but does a nice job keeping his eyes downfield, and that's a good ball, and Abdul Rahim comes back for it, helps out his quarterback, and gives his team another first down.
Working against Peyton LaGrange on that play was Abdul Rahim. 1st and 10 now from the 29, and they'll run a sweep out here to Stewart. Spins away from a couple of T-Bird defenders, and then is taken down after a pickup of about 3 or 4 yards. If you would have told me, and maybe, I mean, no Antwi, so that we haven't seen a lot of passes out of the backfield, and obviously no Klukas again this week, but I wouldn't have thought that the Dinos would find their success on the ground, but that's exactly what's happening here, Doug.
No, you're right. And when time of possession is 3-1, nearing the end of the second half, or the second quarter rather, that's unbelievable. And it has been really patient, controlled offense for the Dinos.
Now here's Sinegra, and this time they'll try to run a draw to Stewart, and that is jammed up right down the middle there. Good job by Connor Griffiths. Nowhere to go, but that Calgary offense having the ball as much as they have, the UBC defense has got to be getting exhausted here.
Well, you have to think they are, but that is a great play to snuff out that draw. Connor Griffiths, third year from Langley, Canada West All-Star. Making a huge play there to force yet another field goal. So that's the thing. Calgary dominating time of possession, dominating things statistically right now. But UBC forcing them into field goals. So you might be feeling a little bit exhausted, some trouble right now, but this game has not been pushed out of reach by the Dinos by any stretch.
36-yarder here for DeFonte, 2 of 3 on the afternoon. This kick is up, and that one is wide right. It'll come down to Travell Pinto. Pinto's going to try to get it out of the end zone on the far side, and he gets just enough. So Nico DeFonte, 2 of 4, and a late push on the far side of the field brings a flag up.
I think it's going to be, this is likely going against Calgary. I couldn't tell if that was Pinto or Malcolm Lee who ended up.
That was pushed down
on the turf over there. It's on the far sideline from our broadcast location. But that would certainly help out the Thunderbirds as well if this is a penalty going against Calgary.
Unnecessary roughness, Calgary, number 10. That penalty be applied at the 20-yard line.
Jack McDonald, the guilty party on special teams there for the Dinos. So this, as you mentioned, Doug, will help UBC. And in the offensive side of the ball, I mean, pretty much anything at this point would be a positive for them.
For sure, and just, you got to look at the situation. You're only down by 10. You haven't had the ball basically at all this whole half, and yet you're only down by 10 points.
Here's O'Connor now, pressure coming, escapes up the middle, and now he's gonna slide and get popped. And there is the flag. The flag came down a little bit late. I thought we'd see it a little bit sooner than we did, to be honest with you. And O'Connor with a few choice words for the Calgary defender. He took a big pop there for a sliding quarterback.
He really did, but this is a great play by O'Connor. The clock in the head, he knows there. He's got to get out of the pocket and go. Puts his head down and takes a big shot there from Iwanibe. And once the quarterback commits to the turf, everyone else has to get away. And that's a bit of, I mean, again, we've talked, you and I over the course of the year have talked a lot about this in terms of the adjustments for defensive players. And it's still an adjustment for a lot of them, but that's one. O'Connor's, he's committed, he's sliding. You got to stop that and not take that hit.
This time he's throwing and he's going to send one down the field. Travell Pinto wide open, touchdown UBC. Travell Pinto for the second week in a row finds the end zone, and UBC's big play ability strikes again.
What did I say a couple seconds ago? Time of possession means nothing. It really does not. Travell Pinto gets left open against this Calgary zone, just right up the seam. And a speedy receiver like that, there is no chance that you're going to catch up to him. Michael Schmidt in chase, there's no possibility that he was going to catch up to number 1 of the UBC Thunderbirds.
He was trying to close. You got a quick shot there of a trainer talking with O'Connor on the sideline as well. Extra point fired home, and guess what? We've got a 3-point football game just like that. 2 big touchdowns in this game. 1 to Cummings, another to Pinto, and Michael Schmidt's not going to catch Travell Pinto on that play. Most players aren't.
Just a go route, like I said, up the seam, and O'Connor with time, he saw it right away. He knew he had the matchup that he wanted. And again, Pinto just so dangerous. You made the point a few minutes ago about the fact they hadn't been able to get the ball into the hands of their weapons. Well, you get him out into space like that, and it's going to be a pretty easy decision for the quarterback to get it out there to his receiver.
They have to think of all the guys to leave open like that. Travell Pinto's the last one, and we saw a good look on the low shot of him coming towards the camera on that touchdown. In the far distance, you saw a Calgary defender with his arms in the air, like say, okay, well, who was supposed to have Travell Pinto on that play? So UBC will take advantage of a huge play from one of their big guys, and all of a sudden they are just down 17-14. We've got an entertaining first half here in the 81st Hardy Cup. Now this ball will come down inside the Calgary end zone. It'll be brought out and brought back to the 15, about to the 17, and let's send it back down to the sidelines. Darren DuPont.
Travell, how were you able to get so open on that last touchdown?
Calgary runs a lot of man defense, and we've known that coming in, and we're just trying to exploit that today.
Despite having success with the big plays, how important is it for you guys to start putting long, sustained drives together?
Oh, it's huge. Coach has been preaching that all week, and everyone's just out there trying to get that done. We know that's what's going to matter today, and that's the only way we're going to win this game.
Appreciate this, Travell. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Darren. Travell Pinto there with his second touchdown in the last 2 weeks. Similar one last week, actually.
Yeah, very similar, up the seam and left wide open as well.
Now Sinegra back to the ground. Robert Stewart, why not? This time he is wrapped up and taken down there very quickly. Elliot Graham wraps him up.
Graham had a good first season in Canada West, 36.5 tackles and an interception. The second longest interception return for a touchdown in Canada West history, 107 yards back early in the season against Manitoba.
We worked that game in UBC the week after because
That's right.
all we were talking about was
Yep.
Elliot Graham and that interception return. 6 yards on the carry for Stewart. He's over 100 yards already, as we mentioned. He's at 113 now. Here's Sinegra. Pressure coming up the middle, and he's able to complete that pass with a high tackle. And it looks as though they're going to be short of the first down here. So this will be huge for the UBC defense to get off the field. Tara Munding comes up a little bit hobbled.
That was a high, almost clothesline tackle by A.J. Blackwell. You can see from the end zone look. There it is right there. You can see again just that foot caught in the turf a little bit. Tara Palmunden, as we saw earlier from Ledwos.
Yeah, that left leg, you see a quick little jam there. Did get enough for the first down here, so a big pickup, got just enough for the first down. 4 targets to the right here for Sinegra. And he'll hand it off to Stewart, a good push again. And that's gonna be a pickup of about 6 yards there. Good burst, he was about 4 or 5 yards untouched there, Doug.
Yeah, and that's where the time of possession, I don't mean to discount time of possession after the last one, but that's where it can become a factor, as we talked about. That Calgary offense just exhausting the UBC front seven right now, and that's when those holes start to open up. And offensive linemen, they love run protection, and they love it when defensive linemen are tired, because then they can just have their way with them, and that's what you're starting to see a little bit with the Dinos.
Running downhill right now, the Calgary Dinos are, and they'll do it again. And a nice move by Stewart to make one man miss. He gets into the second level and eventually tracked down from behind, smack dab at midfield. And Stewart having himself a day.
Robert Stewart just continues to move fairly easily, but the thing you love too for Calgary, you can get a little bit of a look in the shot there in the replay, is just the receivers blocking downfield, opening up extra yardage.
Now they'll swing one underneath. And it's Molnar, the backup running back today, getting involved. Pass catch out of the backfield.
Well, if there's fatigue for the UBC front seven, you got to think maybe Stewart's a little worn out too. So Molnar steps in for a play or two to give Stewart a break.
Sinegra with just over a minute remaining here in the first half. His team leads 17-14, time of possession. As lopsided as you'll see at a game of this magnitude.
It's really an unbelievable statistic for two teams that are pretty evenly matched. Top two defenses in the conference, two very good offenses. That's really an incredible stat here early. And again, still a 3-point game. That's the crazy thing about this sport. Right? Statistics point you one way, but the reality is that UBC is right in the middle of this football game.
You know, you also look at 2 missed field goals from Nico DeFonte as well.
Too.
I mean, it could be a 9-point football game. Neither of them were like 45, 46, 49 yards. So yeah, DeFonte, who came into the game during the regular season, he was 70%, 14 of 20. Last week he was 6 of 7, and today here he is 2 of 4. Just quickly, I want to take a look at Robert Stewart and what he's been able to do so far today. You mentioned again a little bit of a breather. 21 carries, 139 yards in this game. During the regular season, he had 355 yards.
Yeah, and even the number of carries. I mean, he said 58 carries on the year. I mean, he's almost a third of the way there in one half. So he has been the guy that clearly he has taken this opportunity with Antwi out and has just knocked the door down.
You could say he's ran with it.
Yeah, you could say that.
Now here is Sinegra, 2nd and 6. Pressure right up the middle, and he throws it away. Great pressure right up the middle. Ben Hladek, who had 2 sacks last week, and a flag comes out just now.
Well, that looks like, intentional grounding.
Is that what the call is going to be?
We'll see. That's a tough call. You can see from that replay, good shot there. The receiver just running. That's who he was looking at.
Intentional grounding.
Now he could not
Calgary,
get the
number
ball
12.
there.
Point of foul penalty, third
I don't
down.
know if it got across the line of scrimmage. So that flag came out pretty late once the officials discussed it.
Yeah, it might not have got across the line of scrimmage, you're right. Good pressure, though. I mean, let's talk about the play that was made here by Hladik, right up the middle. And you saw the moment Sonegra saw him coming, he really didn't have anything else to do.
No, just could not get anything into that throw whatsoever. And that Pinto touchdown has really swung momentum. That's a good stop for UBC here late in this first half.
And we have not said that very much so far in this game for this UBC defense. So let's see if their offense can build on it. They got 66 seconds to work. And they've got Travell Pinto waiting back to return a punt here. DeFonte. He'll kick this one, and that will come down. And taken just inside the 30. A couple of tackles missed there by Delorier. They're keeping it away from Pinto as much as they can in the return game here, Doug.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a wise decision. If you can minimize the number of touches that Pinto gets, you'll take the slightly shorter kick to make sure that number 1 doesn't have it in his hands. You see JJ Delorier there, player with a pretty strong pedigree. His dad, 3 uncles, 3 cousins have either played for UBC or SFU, and his uncle, Laurent Delorier, won a Vanier Cup with the UBC Thunderbirds, then went on to win a Grey Cup with the Edmonton Eskimos in 1987. He was a very good safety in a brief CFL career.
Delorier, JJ trying to get a Hardy Cup today. And this handoff is going to be a short game, maybe a yard there for Ben Cummings, who came in averaging over 100 yards per game. And so far, the Dinos have to be pretty pleased with the way they've managed to shut him down, similar to what they did with Ed Elnicki last week.
Yep, no, and it was some early success for Cummings, but as the halves wore on, they've really taken him away.
O'Connor down the field again, almost brought in with one hand as he was looking for Alex Morrison, who has become a big play receiver here in his 5th year, and he had a hand on it, could not bring it in as he was kind of falling forward.
He is quicker than you think. Ooh, and that is no slouch that he got by. That's Adam Lawrence, who is a 5-time Canada West All-Star and a CFL draft pick, and Morrison had 3 yards on him. So a little bit more air under that ball, and you're talking about a UBC lead at halftime. But Morrison has been that deep play threat, as you talked about.
Yeah, we've talked about him a couple of times this year. He's got a 93-yard touchdown on the season. 2 touchdowns last week. Now Hutchins will kick this away, a high kick, and that one will come down at the 42. No flags on the field this time as it is returned up the far sideline and taken out at about the 52-yard line. So with 31 seconds here, still some time for Sonegra to move this ball down the field and maybe put it on the leg of Nico DeFonte, who's 2 for 4 so far today. It'd be interesting to see where that kicker's at mentally here in the first half.
That's a really good question, and it's funny when you look at the numbers compared this week to last week. Last week with the colder temperatures, that ball feels like a bit of a rock, and yet both kickers had great success. But here today, like you said, 2 for 4, but lots of time here for Sonegra and his offense to get him into field goal range.
They'll be throwing here, and some pressure coming too. He's going to look down the field. That ball up for grabs, and it's caught just inside the 30. As they attacked quickly there, and Hunter Carl, why not? He brings it in. Now you got a chance to take a couple of shots here if you want, Doug.
Corner out here, good protection again for Sonegra, and AJ Blackwell just gets a little bit lost trying to chase number 86. That's a big play.
You're probably so used to Carl just kind of swinging underneath. That's the first time they've actually looked down the field to Hunter Carl today.
And again, you get single coverage on the linebacker, and you're going to take advantage of it.
24 seconds on the clock in the first half. Calgary on the UBC 29, leading by 3. Sonegra this time will flip it underneath, and that'll be complete. UBC doing a good job there to close quickly on Tara Plumondon.
Good job there by Peyton LaGrange, number 16, to close quickly and
Timeout.
seal off that edge.
Calgary.
Make sure that Tara Plumondon has to come back to the inside where more white jerseys were.
You know what, Tara Plumondon, he looked like he banged himself up a couple of plays ago. Came up limping there again, and when he caught that ball, I hesitated to say it was him because he didn't look as explosive as we saw earlier in the game with Tara Plumondon. So maybe something to watch there as well, because it didn't look like he was moving too well on that play.
No, and you certainly, when you have a quick corner like Peyton LaGrange, as we take a look here now at Robert Stewart and the multiple second effort situations that he has just bowled his way through here in this first half.
He has been absolutely outstanding today. UBC doing all they can to contain him, but it really has not worked. As he's working on a day here where he's on pace to be well over 200 yards rushing when all is said and done. And 140 already in this football game. 16 seconds remaining here in the opening half. His team leads by 3. What will Sinegro do here? He's got 4 targets to his left. He's going to roll to his right. Pressure coming here from the Thunderbirds, and Sinegro wisely will have to throw it away and instantly points to who he was throwing that ball to after being caught on an intentional grounding just a few moments ago.
That's a really smart play, though, by Sinegro, because he gets himself in trouble right here as he spins back, but then he realizes, hey, I got to keep us in field goal range. No point me trying to make a heroic play, and just gets rid of it. And like you said, the little bit of the Babe Ruth called my shot downfield to make sure the officials saw that. No, there was a red jersey somewhere within about 15 yards. But it's certainly a legitimate throw and a smart one by Sinegro.
Good pressure there from A.J. Blackwell, 35 in white, who was trying to get to Sinegro, and now it'll be a 35-yarder for Nico DeFonte, his 5th kick attempt of the afternoon. He's 2 for 4 thus far. Travell Pinto waiting back in the end zone. 10 seconds on the clock in the opening half. DeFonte this time, and that one is good. Extends the lead to 6 for the Dinos with just 5 seconds remaining in the second quarter of the 81st Hardy Cup at a beautiful afternoon in Calgary.
That's a positive way for DeFonte to end the half. And Calgary looks like they will head into the break with a 6-point lead in what has been a unique but really entertaining first half.
There's been a couple of very strange plays in this football game. Obviously, that interception by Lucision kind of pops off the page. But at the same time, we've been treated to an amazing football game so far. UBC with 2 big play touchdowns as they'll come out here and kneel this ball down and head into the room at halftime, trailing by 6. And I think you have to feel pretty good, Doug, if you're both teams here. You're Calgary, you're at home, you're up 20-14. Yes, you left some points on the board with some missed field goals, but you have a lead here at halftime of the championship game. If you're UBC, you've been dominated in time of possession, but you're only down 6 on the road here against a very powerful Dinos team.
That's right, and a pass that just goes beyond the outstretched arms of Alex Morrison, and suddenly it could be a lead for UBC here at halftime. And I think if you're UBC, it's a couple things you want to talk about. It's we have to limit what Robert Stewart's able to do. We have to contain him better than we did. The passing game hasn't hurt them dramatically here so far in the first half, but for UBC, they've got some points they need to talk about.
Calgary leading 20-14. Here's Darren DuPont with their head coach.
Wayne, the guys upstairs couldn't stop talking about the effort from Robert Stewart. How have you assessed his play in replacement of Jeshurun Antwi?
Well, it's exactly what we expect of Robbie. He's a tough runner. He's a hard downhill physical guy, and he's doing a great job right now.
You scored 21 points in the third quarter when you guys played in the regular season. What needs to be the message at halftime to have a similar result today?
Well, we just need to stay to our game plan, and we got to keep being physical, and we got to move the ball offensively, and defensively we got to stop those big plays. We know they're a big play offense.
Appreciate this, Wayne. Good luck in the second half.
All right, thank you.
Wayne Harris, the head coach of the Calgary Dinos. Now for the half, we send it over to Andy Neal.
All right, thanks very much, Darren. We will hear from Darren in a little bit. Big goings-on in Atlanta, Canada to talk about. A 1-score game in the 81st Hardy Cup from Calgary and the Canada West Football Showcase.
Varsity kickoff. Their uniforms won't stay white for too long on this day. A 58-yard touchdown run. They add the Vanier Cup to their collection. But Bradley intercepts. Down inside the 20, could be gone. To Malberg. Touchdown!
Well, last year, Calgary was up by 26 at the half. They held on for a 3-point victory in the 2016 Hardy Cup Championship. It's now a 6-point lead going into the half in the 2017 edition of the championship for Canada West football. Andy Neal alongside Darren DuPont. Welcome back to Canada West Football Showcase. Now, there are 2 other championship games, conference championship games going on in Quebec and Ontario, which we will get to in a little bit. Atlantic Canada, it's not on the schedule. Acadia was the top seed. St. Mary's, they've been running into an ineligible player situation, but a champion in Atlantic Canada still hasn't quite been decided yet. So these are some big goings on in Atlantic Canada between Acadia and St. Mary's.
Yeah, it really is, and it's wild that there's no Loney Bowl being played today at all. Recently this week, the AUS Conference awarding Acadia that championship based on regular season performance because of an ineligibility question. And the player that's in question is Archelius Jack, a receiver who led the AUS, number 3 in U Sports. He was with the Saskatchewan Roughriders last year, so there's a few dates that are important. The first one is October the 11th. That's the date in which Jack was released in 2016 by the Riders. Now, according to the U Sports bylaw, if a player is on a roster past beyond August 15th, he must wait 1 full year before returning to U Sports. But the question lies in some of the language, because the argument that St. Mary's has made is that there's not a clear definitive term as to what a year stands for. It's listed in one place as 365 days, in another as an academic year. So they thought he was just ineligible for last season and he was fine this year. He played the first 5 games before it became known. And if it was a full 365 days, he would have been ineligible up until that October 11th day. So there's a lot of questions going right now in the AUS.
Now, you mentioned that the AUS did award Acadia the Loney Championship. However, there is a hearing today regarding that game, and there's still an opportunity that this game might actually be played.
Well, yeah, this is fully in the legal system. When it was announced, there was actually an agreement in place. Court documents were released on Friday, and it was announced and released that back in October the 27th, U Sports and St. Mary's had reached an agreement that, based on legal action being withdrawn, that the ineligibility issue would be put to rest. Well, it has since been brought up by another member of the conference, and it was believed that the investigation was back on. Now, the judge ruling coming out earlier this week saying that that argument does not stand and that the decision made by AUS was still held in place. So very confusing times right now in Atlantic Canada.
And we were understanding that Acadia, who was the #1 ranked team in AUS this year, they were out practicing just in case. And I wonder too, AUS is the host of next week's semifinal, the other national semifinal. The Ontario champion goes there, and for the Ontario champion, is that an advantage perhaps having maybe an extra day? They might not even know who they're playing just yet. So this is really up in the air for a number of teams.
Yeah, it really is, and it's been up in the air for a while. It started really becoming known in Week 8, the final week of the regular season, and Mount Allison and St. FX are 2 teams that come into question. Now, if the games were to be forfeited, it would have pushed St. Mary's record to 1-7. Mount Allison then would have had that playoff spot, which they weren't allowed to play in. Then it also goes a week further, and St. FX, thinking that they only lost to St. Mary's last week by a single point. They weren't sure if they were going to play Acadia this week, and for Acadia, they weren't sure who they were going to play, if it was going to be St. FX, if it was going to be St. Mary's. But you're right, as early as this afternoon, Acadia was on the field practicing, getting ready to play in case a decision comes out, and potentially the Loney Bowl could be played tomorrow. That is being heard right now today.
Now, the UTEC Bowl is the other national semifinal. The Ontario champion would go to Atlantic Canada for that matchup, and right now the Western Mustangs, it's in the 4th quarter right now in the Yates Cup over Laurier, 75-24. So Western looks like they are well on their way to a victory there. And the Laval Rouge et Or, the reigning Vanier Cup champions, they've got a doubled lead on Montreal, 22-11 right now in the 3rd quarter. And the winner of that game comes west to face the Canada West champion in the Mitchell Bowl in the other national semifinal. So a tough test enough for either of these teams, Calgary or UBC, whoever wins today's 81st Hardy Cup championship. Well, the Canada West Awards were announced, and here's a look at who came away with some hardware.
With the 81st Hardy Cup slated for this Saturday, Canada West is proud to announce this year's football major award winners. The 2017 Rookie of the Year is Regina Rams linebacker Nick Cross. Cross is the 2nd consecutive Ram to win the award after defensive lineman Nicholas Daly claimed the honor a season ago. A product of Regina's Dr. Martin Leboldus High School, Cross started week 1 of the season, becoming the first Rams rookie to start a season opener directly out of high school since Jameer Walker back in 2008. After posting 7.5 tackles, including a sack week 1, the freshman continued his strong play throughout the campaign, finishing the regular season with 46 tackles, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. The kinesiology and health studies student now moves forward as the Canada West nominee for the Peter Gorman Award as National Rookie of the Year. Sticking with defense, this year's Canada West Outstanding Defensive Player of the Year and President's Award nominee for U Sports Top Defensive Player is UBC Thunderbirds safety Stavros Katsantonis. The Bakersfield, California product was unanimous conference All-Star for the 2nd consecutive season, and for good reason. Katsantonis was once again a one-man turnover machine, posting 4 interceptions on the year, while also adding 3 forced fumbles for the Thunderbirds. His breakout 2017 performance came Week 7 against Manitoba, when he recorded a trio of interceptions. The third-year art student was key to the Thunderbirds' defensive upswing as the season progressed, helping UBC finish the regular season as the conference's top defensive unit. For the second time in 3 years, Calgary Dinos head coach Wayne Harris is the Conference Coach of the Year, after guiding the Dinos to a 7-1 regular season record in 2017. Harris previously won the award in his rookie season as head coach back in 2015. With nearly 4 decades of experience with the program, Harris has continued Calgary's run of Canada West dominance. He now moves forward as the Canada West nominee for the Frank Tyndall Trophy as U Sports Coach of the Year. On the line, no one had a better season than Alberta's Mark Corte, who is the conference's outstanding lineman. The 4th-year tackle was a pillar for the Bears, who sported one of the nation's top offensive lines. Corte, who hails from Spruce Grove, Alberta, and is working towards a business degree, helped the Bears to the most dominant rushing season in Canada West history. Corte and company set the table for running back Ed Ilnicki, who set the conference single-season rushing record with 1,468 yards. Corte now looks to capture the John P. Metris Award as the nation's top lineman. Let the Ed 4 Heck campaign officially begin, as Ed Ilnicki is the runaway pick as the conference's Player of the Year and now becomes the Canada West nominee for the Heck Creighton Award as the nation's top university football player. Quite simply, 2017 was one of the greatest individual seasons in Canada West history, as Ilnicki did everything in his power to run the Bears back to the postseason for the first time since 2010. The Spruce Grove, Alberta product rushed for a Canada West single-season record of 1,468 yards, finding the end zone 11 times on the ground. His rushing total was tops in the nation by more than 300 yards and 5th most all-time nationally in a single season. Ilnicki concluded his 5-year career as Alberta's all-time rushing leader with 4,145 yards, the 2nd most all-time in Canada West history.
Well, congrats to all the winners and all the best in their pursuits for the national awards and the Heck Creighton Trophy nominee, as you saw, Ed Ilnicki from the Alberta Golden Bears after a record-setting year for him, over 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. Well, plenty of offensive weapons in today's 81st Hardy Cup Championship game. A number of highlights throughout the 2017 Canada West season, and here are the best in the offensive plays of the year.
Down and 11 yards to go now. Saskatchewan will pass. There's a toss over the middle to Hillis. Oh, he got it and he'll score. He tipped the ball to himself.
Picton, 3-man rush. Now he'll go over the top. He has his man open, and it's
the catch. What a great catch. Great concentration.
Kyle Morcat with the catch.
Got a little bit of help from the defensive back there. I think that ball was deflected right into his hands. Had to turn and look over the other shoulder.
Almost,
great concentration.
Almost in the arms of Marcel Arruda-Welsh.
Almost.
Who had the coverage too.
Gray, 5th year under center here. He's not going to keep. He's going to try to throw it over top.
No,
they got a big man.
Oh, no, they didn't. Oh, my
Touchdown into the hands of Eric Wachowski. Frankie Gray is listed as a DB. He's the guy taking this snap. You've got Wachowski, slides out from the end of the line, a little dip over the top. He's going to look downfield. He's going to take a shot down to the 20. That ball caught but out of bounds. No, inbounds.
Pretty close call there. Although it looked like that toe maybe was just in bounds. We'll give it to him because it's going to count.
Here's a handoff for Manitoba on 1st and 10.
Nice
Jamel
run.
Lyles, he's got some space. He is off to the races, to the 40 and the 30, down to the 25 and the 20. Jamel Lyles, you're going to score. Touchdown, Manitoba.
A little bit more than what they needed to get back. And now here's a first down. That's complete over the middle. And a little bit of room to go. Right up the middle. One man to beat. High stepping his way to the end zone. And that's going to be a touchdown for Hunter Carl. His second of the game.
Big time play here to open up the second half. Carl juking and jiving, finding a seam and eluding defenders there to get to the
for the Dinos. Here's Kobzinski. He's going to throw one up here. They'll take a shot deep, and that is complete. Down the left sideline. Still going. A beautiful move there by Rowe. Nathan Rowe's going to go all the way for a touchdown.
1st and 10 from the UBC 32. O'Connor, he's going to look downfield, has a man.
And O'Connor just puts it up and puts confidence in his receiver, and that is a heck of a catch, and then a heck of a grab by the right hand to secure it.
Mitchell Picton to the right. Now Picton's in trouble, and he escapes. Picton now running for his life, finds a man. That's complete. An opportunity to get it to the end zone, and they will. Touchdown, Atlee Simon. And what a play by the quarterback, Noah Picton, to keep that play alive. 3rd and 21 for Baker and the Golden Bears. Do they have it in them? Baker's going to look down the field for Nathan Rowe. He's got it! Oh, he's got it! Nathan Rowe, are you kidding me? How did that kid bring that in?
At field level here with the head coach of the UBC Thunderbirds, Blake. No, Blake, take us through your thoughts in the first half that you relayed in the locker room.
You know, a game where we're trying our best to compete against a team that is a very good football team. We have to play better. We took a pretty good shot from them. We're 6 points down. We need to have our best half of football this half. If we do, we have a chance.
Just quickly, what was the explanation and your thoughts on the turnover that we saw back down on the other end?
Well, the guy that was supposed to make the call told me that there was no receiver in the area. They chose, and then the official told me, the head official told me he wasn't prepared to make the call. That's what I was told.
Okay, Coach, good luck in the second half. All right, there's Blake Nill, head coach of the UBC Thunderbirds. Now for the second half, let's go upstairs to Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean, guys.
Thank you very much. And you know what? Blake Nill makes a good point. His team took the best Calgary has, and they're still in this football game. And UBC, they've been relying on the big plays so far in this game, and it started with one to give them a lead early, Doug.
Well, not the guy you expect to be running the post route, but it's Ben Cummings, and they find him open. A bit of confusion in the linebacking core of the Dinos, and you get a great look at it here, just over top of Micah Tights, and there's Ben Cummings wide open, and that got UBC off to a pretty hot start. But then from there, it was the Robert Stewart show as he really took this game over. Second effort, plowing through players. You can see a great example there, the jersey being pulled. He's still building up yards. So he's been a real revelation, I think, for the Dinos in this first half. And then Hunter Carl just does what Hunter Carl does. He makes plays, scores that touchdown, but then UBC gets the ball into the hands of their playmaker, Travell Pinto, on that go route up the seam. And it's been field goals for Calgary. They've had opportunities as this game has worn on to really build the lead, but so far it's been Robert Stewart on the ground that has been able to give the Calgary Dinos this 6-point advantage.
Here they are, though, still in this football game. The UBC Dinos are, despite that dominant possession from Calgary, 21.5 minutes they had the ball in that first half, but they lead by 6. They will get the ball to start the second half as well. Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean with you, the 81st Hardy Cup. Thank you for joining us. We've got Andy Neal and Darren DuPont with us as well here. Beautiful afternoon at McMahon, and now Calgary First return of the second half. That'll go back to about the 15, and nowhere to go there. Good job downfield there. Corey Nagata, backup running back for UBC out there on special teams. Senegra marches back onto the field for the Dinos. And in the first half of this game, Senegra had some big moments. 16 of 21, 168 yards, and a touchdown for the quarterback for the Dinos.
Yeah, Senegra, I thought, had a really good half. He used his feet pretty well when he had to escape pressure, kept his eyes downfield. Couple errant throws over the top of Hunter Carl, but for the most half, a pretty solid 30 minutes.
Right back to the ground for Stewart, and a good stop there. As Stewart had a good burst initially, and then the UBC linebacking core able to get to him. We'll get another look at it here, but a good first push there from Stewart.
Yeah, just continues where he left off, and you have to think that that was the conversation in the UBC locker room, is that Robert Stewart is not going to have a second half like he had in the first. They have to make sure that they limit those gains and put Calgary in second and long.
139 on the ground in the first for Stewart. Senegra throwing here, and that one will be complete. And it will be enough for a first down. That's Tyler Ledwos, who left the game earlier with what appeared to be an apparent leg injury, but he's back out there now.
Walking a little bit gingerly, but really good to see him back on the field, and just sits down in front of Will Maxwell. And that'll be a nice first down for the Dinos on second and long.
So 1st and 10 here for Senegra and the Dinos offense. They will work from their own 30. 3 targets to the left for Senegra. He'll hand it off to Stewart, who tried to kick it out to the left, and nowhere to go there. A good job defensively. Mike Spencer with the tackle.
Great pursuit there by Mike Spencer. Just pushes upfield, makes sure that Stewart cannot get to the outside. And Katsantonis, as he always is, helping out his teammate to bring down Robert Stewart.
Forcing Stewart even further outside, which is where Spencer was able to wrap him up. So 2nd and 10 here for Senegra and the Dinos. Pressure coming from both sides. Senegra, far side, and that pass incomplete. So UBC, who brought a lot of pressure last week, Doug, against Regina, showing a little bit of it here in the early stages of the second half.
And that's a really good point, because last week they had Picton on the run, and he really, you could just tell in that game, never felt comfortable at all throughout the game, and that's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So interesting to see here in the early going of the second half. They bring a little bit more pressure, and we'll see if that continues.
DeFonte out to kick this ball away. So a good start here for the UBC defense, rather, in the second half. And they will get the ball to O'Connor. A pretty good field position, but a great kick here by DeFonte. Wow, what a punt. That's going to drop down at the 22 and roll all the way back down. Scooped up at the 5 by Delorier. Now he's in trouble, almost ran it back into his end zone. What a kick by Nico DeFonte. He blasted that thing about 10 yards over the head of the returners for UBC.
Wow, that's one way to flip the field. 39-yard average on the season for DeFonte, and here's the kick, and Delorier's like, whoa, I got to get out of here. So he starts turning around and sprinting back, knowing that he's in big trouble, and then ends up losing a couple yards on the return as well. But Delorier knew that that ball was flying well over his head.
I spoke too early about the good field position. What a kick. O'Connor in his own end zone. Empty backfield, gets it underneath to Travell Pinto, makes one man miss, lunges ahead. Ball came out. I believe it would have been the ground that caused that ball to pop loose. Pinto was trying to reach ahead for the first down. He's going to be awfully close.
Nice little move right at the end of this play by Travell Pinto. Good safe throw. Pinto just settles down in there, just that little juke around Iwanibe, and that enables him to get first down yardage. The ball, that's a fumble. That is a fumble. I think UBC came up with it, but that ball was out.
UBC did scoop that up, but you're right, that was a fumble there. That was a good job. That ball was punched out there. Good pickup there by the truck and Doug. Empty backfield again here for O'Connor. And he will once again try to get it into the hands of Travell Pinto. And he held on to that thing as he was falling to the ground. So an early dose of Travell Pinto here to begin the third quarter for the T-Birds.
You can see why people love watching him and have a lot of respect for what Pinto can do. That is not an easy catch at all for Travell Pinto as he comes underneath. We'll get another look at the fumble. Boston Rowe punches it out. I didn't see the UBC player that fortuitously just jumped on it. But back to Pinto.
That's a tough catch down past your knees, and to be able to scoop that one up and gain positive yardage is a big play.
2nd and 4, O'Connor throwing again, and he had the first down as that one complete on the far side of the field. Marshall Cook with his 3rd catch of the afternoon.
Something you mentioned earlier, the need for UBC to find extra weapons. And when we say weapons, doesn't mean you have to make huge plays. You just need to make simple plays like this. Marshall, that's a tough catch to make. That ball gets floated out there. Those are good, strong hands by 81 to bring it in and give UBC another first down.
No catches yet today for Alex Morrison, who missed on a big one. But we'll see when he factors into this football game. 2 touchdowns last week. O'Connor now with pressure coming up the middle. And that pass on the far side complete. But it looks like this is coming back on a holding penalty. That would have been Morrison's first catch of the game, but it will not count.
No, the hold comes pretty late, right in front of the official, as Michael O'Connor released the ball. So UBC had gotten themselves outside of the shadows of their own goalpost, but now we're marching back the other way with that hold.
So it'll be 1st and 20 now from about their own 17. Get a look at it here right in the middle. There's the hold. Blake Pickard, the guilty party.
This offensive line, pretty veteran group. Pickard, 3rd-year player from North Vancouver.
4 targets to the right here for O'Connor. He's going to try to flip it underneath, almost put that right into the hands of a Calgary defender as they were looking for the shovel pass to Ben Cummings, and that one broken up at the point of attack.
Those shovel passes happen so quickly, it's just, you're just releasing the ball. You don't have a lot of time to look to see where the linemen are. And in this case here, O'Connor looks downfield, and he comes back, and he's got to release it. Oh, and he hesitates and then throws it almost like a chest pass in basketball. But that could have been another disastrous turnover inside the 20 for the Thunderbirds.
2nd and 20 now from their own 16. 4 targets to the right for O'Connor. That's where he's going to look. Some back pressure coming. Picked up by Cummings. Shot down the field for Pinto. Up for grabs. Almost picked off. Broken up, though, by Abrams Webster. And he fell down on the field after because he thought he should have held on to that one. Maybe a good job by Pinto to break it up. Let's get a look.
It's I think a really good job by Travell Pinto. He knew this ball was underthrown. He does. He gets that right arm, just tucks it around to make sure that that is not an interception going back the other way.
Well, he has experience on the defensive side of the ball. He was an all-star as a corner. So
there you go. So he's demonstrating why, although not exactly the circumstances in which you want to do that. So for UBC, at one point, we're able to get, like I said, some decent field position, but now we're going to be punting from their goal line.
Hutchins stands on his 1. Can he have a big kick here? This will come down right at midfield. Scooped up there by Newsel, trying to kick it to the outside, and nowhere to go there. Liam Mahara down the field with the tackle. And Calgary and Sinagra will march out with the ball on UBC side of the field.
Now, again, good field position for the Dinos. They've had good field position throughout much of this game, along with the time of possession that we've talked about. They have been pretty patient so far. We will see if they start to push the ball down the field. But UBC, coming out of the half, did a good job against Robert Stewart.
348 yards of total offense for the Dinos. Sinagra, Stewart takes the ball and rumbles up the middle. He'll pick up about 5 yards, maybe 6 on that first down carry. Workhorse day for Stewart continues.
I think it's 54, Henrique Custodio gets the one arm in initially to try to slow him up. You see how many UBC players are having to come and try to bring down Robert Stewart.
Gave him 5, so 2nd and 5 here from the 45 for Sinagra. 17 of 23 on the day, 179 yards. Empty backfield here for Sinagra. Steps up, down the field, and that one is complete and taken out at the 17, and then a leaping effort up over top of the sideline there as Sindani makes his biggest play of the game.
And this is a heck of a throw by Sinagra. He's almost on his back foot a little bit as he releases it, but right in stride, he hits Richard Sindani. And Malcolm Lee, all he can do is just push him out of bounds.
Here's Sinagra again, looking to strike this time, maybe over the middle! And that ball up for grabs and brought down. What a catch there by Hunter Carl. As he was hammered on the way down, and he does it again.
Yeah, he just settles down in the middle. That dig route again. But that's behind him, pulls it in, and takes a hit from Cansantonis. That is why we've talked a lot about Hunter Carl. You know you're going to get hit. You don't expect to necessarily land on your back, and he is headed to the sideline. I'm sure the wind just knocked right out of him.
Better looking catch the second and third times. You got to look at it.
That is a heck of a play by a veteran receiver.
First and goal from the 6 for the Dinos. Can they punch it in this time? Sinegra, far side of the field. Touchdown, Calgary! As they waste no time getting it back in the hands of Richard Sindani.
So the Thunderbirds decide not to give up the safety. Calgary takes over at midfield and very sharply marches down and punches in a huge score for them. Sindani just runs out to the flat across the goal line. And Zaichley just cannot get there in time.
What a throw as well from
That's
Sinegra.
A perfect throw. You're right, Dustin. That's a great throw.
DeFonte, the extra point. No problem there.
And I said it was Zaichley, sorry, it was Mike Spencer in coverage there for UBC. And that's a tough throw to make. You throw that ball to the flat, you don't have a huge window. You throw that ball behind the receiver a little bit, that can be pick six and gone the other way. So really nice throw by Sinegra to lead Sindani and give Calgary a much needed little bit of breathing room here in this Hardy Cup.
Yes, the lead is now 13, 27-14, Calgary.
And he just didn't hesitate at all. Sinegra knew exactly where he wanted to go, so that first pre-snap read led him to Sindani, and a big score for Wayne Harris and the Dinos.
And what a efficient drive as well. They wasted no time, Doug, getting that ball in midfield, 3 or 4 plays, and it's in the end zone.
And it's a mix of everybody. It's a little bit of Stewart, it's a little bit of Hunter Carl with a huge play, Sindani a couple times, so you're seeing that balance. Even with the injuries, you're still seeing that balance that Calgary has.
Not much room left for error here for UBC. Trailing by 13, they are about to get the ball back with just over 8 minutes remaining in the third quarter of the 81st Hardy Cup. And they will surrender another point here.
A little bit like the NFL now, right? We're seeing with these kickoffs.
Send it down to Darren Dupont.
Richard Sindani getting in the end zone. What was the message at halftime that you guys needed to come out here early in the third quarter?
Well, really at halftime, Coach Shane has us in there. We're going over stuff that's strategic or whatnot. We're not really into the motions and stuff. We're just trying to, regroup and come back out and try to win this half again.
What do you take away from last week when you guys were able to have such a good second half and pull away from Alberta?
Honestly, I think that that game was it's a little bit different than this one. I think we're playing a team here right now they're desperate, right? We won the first half, and I guess it's a little bit of the same type of game, but right now we have a bigger lead than we did last week. So I think right now it's just maintaining it and building it.
Good stuff. Congratulations on the touchdown.
Thank you.
There is O'Connor with the first completion of the day to Alex Morrison, just the 4th Thunderbird to catch a ball today. And they're going to need this guy to get going. We talked about him right off the top. He's one of their more dangerous threats.
Yeah, he has to factor in here in this second half if UBC is going to have a chance to come back against the Dinos.
28-14, O'Connor and Thunderbirds trailing right now. Empty backfield here. And once again, that'll be complete for about 5 or 6 yards, right back into the reliable hands of Alex Morrison. So second and manageable here around midfield for the visitors.
You're seeing the Dinos now drop deeper into coverage with this bigger lead, and now we'll get a look at some of the plays this season from Alex Morrison. And again, those big play abilities that he has. And this is last week in the playoff game against Regina, and you and I saw him earlier in the year against Saskatchewan. Another huge play really early in that football game back in September. So Alex Morrison has that potential. We saw him run by Adam Lorentz in the first half here. O'Connor just could not catch up to him.
O'Connor in trouble there, got rid of that ball just in the nick of time as pressure was coming right up the middle. Good read there by the Calgary defender.
Jacob Plamondon
Number 92 for the Dinos, left alone, comes right into the face of Michael O'Connor, who's just forced to get rid of the ball. So some extra pressure from the Dinos causing some issues for the third-year pivot for UBC.
So 3rd and 5, Greg Hutchins will come out to kick this away. And, you know, positive side of things, if you are UBC right now, you flip the field. I mean, you're going to kick this ball deep into Calgary territory. On the negative side of things, you're down 14 here, and you're giving the ball back to the Dinos.
Yeah, still lots of time left, of course, but for UBC, just the fact their offense has not been able to get on track here today, I think has to cause some concern on that Thunderbird sideline.
Hutchins' kick is going to come down and bounce at the 25, scooped up at the 20, and nowhere to go. Good coverage downfield by the Thunderbirds, and Newsel literally had nowhere to go on that one. We talked about it, Doug. Third quarter dominance from Calgary. You look at what this team's capable of and what they've done against UBC in the past, something maybe that they can build on here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the game earlier in the year, the Calgary ended up winning 31-17 out at Thunderbird Stadium. It was a close game at half, 10-9. UBC had the advantage, but 21-0 in that third quarter for the Dinos that propelled them to that 14-point win back at the end of September. So this is a Dinos team that is patient. They've got balance, as we've said a little bit here, and they will respond quickly when they need to, as they have here over the course of this ball game.
Send it back down to the sidelines. Darren DuPont waiting.
Yeah, guys, this rivalry writing another page and another chapter here this afternoon. Of course, the third time in 3 years that they've met, the rubber match, with each team having 1-1, and it really stems back to 2015 when Blake Nill left Calgary, went to UBC, and brought the Thunderbirds back in to the Hardy Cup, and then led them to a Vanier Cup. And for Blake Nill and Wayne Harris, it goes all the way back to the 70s when they were collegiate wrestlers here at the University of Calgary, and you can see them in their wonderful little suits. And Blake was a heavyweight champion in 1984. Wayne Harris was a 100-kilogram champion back in 1981. So that relationship goes all the way back to the 70s, and now coaching against each other in the championship for the third straight season. It's come a long way, and it's writing another chapter, and I'm sure this is far from the end of the story between Wayne Harris and Blake Nill, guys.
Well, good news, they were wrestling champions. Bad news, they had to wear those outfits, Doug.
Yeah, those singlets, luckily in today's wrestling, I'm not sure they're a lot better. They cover a little bit more now, but yeah, it was certainly interesting to see that photo brought to our attention earlier today, and both players played football and then played football at U of C and then went on to have football careers in the Canadian Football League for a few years. Blake Nill with the old Montreal Concord, and Wayne Harris with a couple teams, including the Stampeders.
Now they'll pitch one outside, and that looks as though it'll be enough for a first down, as this time they find another creative way to get the ball in the hands of Robert Stewart.
And that's what you want to do. If you know how he's going today, you want to get the ball in his hands this time. A pitch play gives him a little bit of time to see what's in front of him and then find the hole and explode through it. So you're going to vary things up, especially if UBC starts to take the middle of the field away, which they've been able to do somewhat successfully here in the third quarter.
They only needed 2 yards. They got it. So it's 1st and 10 now. From the 35 for the Dinos, they lead by 14. Sinegra fakes the handoff. This time he's going to run with that ball now down the field, and looked as though he was just throwing that one away at that point because there was no opportunity for Tyler Ledwose to bring that one in.
UBC in man coverage there, and Peyton LaGrange right on the hip of Ledwose on the sideline, and that ball from Sinegra sails high. You can see the play action. They've been able to run so successfully that UBC has to respect that. But that time, good coverage on the outside by the first-year player from just up the road, about an hour and a half from here in Red Deer, Peyton LaGrange.
2nd and 10. Sinegra, is he going to go downfield this time? Yes, he is. Has a man down there, defended extremely well by Malcolm Lee as he breaks up that big look down the field to Tara Plumunden. What a play by the Canada West All-Star.
He had a couple options. He had, I think it was Ledwose, a little bit shorter, but decides to go long. Tara Plumunden, and Malcolm Lee, he knew exactly what he was doing. You could see it. Set him up, and then just makes his break on the ball, knew exactly where he was. That's really, really good coverage by number 9, Malcolm Lee.
Timed that thing perfectly.
That's what you have to do. Make sure you don't make contact early. Get the hand in there. But Tara Plamondon thought he had a little bit more time and space than he did.
4.5 minutes remaining here, third quarter. DeFonte's kick once again away from Travell Pinto, and once again over the head of Delorier. He'll have to go back and take it inside the 20, and he'll get it out at about the 22, so not as much damage as last time. But once again, a kick over the returner's head.
And I'm looking to see, I mean, the wind has picked up a little bit here, but the forecast for wind was no more than about 9 kilometers an hour this afternoon in Calgary. And JJ Delorier, I'm not sure if he's just misreading where he thinks DeFonte is going to end up, but he is out kicking him by 5-8 yards right now and forcing Delorier to have to go back and really just scramble to get his hands on the ball.
Trailing by 14, O'Connor takes over here for UBC. Good news for the T-Birds is that they have the ability to hit on big plays. They have already twice in this game. This time they'll hand it off to Cummings, tries to cut it back, and he does. Cummings will get it up close to a first down. So a good job there by Cummings. I thought he might have been wrapped up after 3 or 4 yards, but he kind of escaped through a hole and is awfully close to picking up a first down.
And watch Dakota Shepley, number 64 there, the right tackle, just make sure he holds his block on Matthew Carson. And that allows Cummings to read it and find where that extra spot's going to be, and then he's able to burst through it. So a really good job there by the right tackle, Dakota Shepley from Windsor, Ontario.
One of the 5 All-Stars on the offensive line, Canada West this year. Micah Tights making the tackle. It's going to be just short of a first down. Here's a look at what's happening out of town, Doug.
And no real surprise, but the Western Mustangs put up 75 on the Laurier Golden Hawks to win the Yates Cup. And then Laval, they late in that fourth quarter up by 8 on Montreal. And I know a certain uncle of mine will be extremely pleased by the 75 points put up by the Western Mustangs. I know he was watching that game this afternoon, so congrats to both, well, to Western and looks like Laval heading on to respective national semifinals.
And Laval, of course, a trip out west awaiting them. Second and short. O'Connor will hand it off. Cummings has the first down and more right up the middle. He'll take it out to the 45. A pickup of about 12 there for Cummings. One of his better carries of the day.
One of his better carries, and that's one of the better pushes by the offensive line of UBC, as Cummings able to come at the line with speed. And then if you have a guy coming at you to the second level with that kind of quickness, it's going to be tough to bring him down. So good job by both Cummings and the offensive line of UBC.
O'Connor, they're going to run it again with Cummings. And he's able to kick it to the outside. Good job there defensively by Boston Rowe to force him a little bit further out. Picks up about 4 yards on that first down carry.
And you're bang on. That's a great play by Boston Rowe to step up and force Cummings to turn his shoulders to the sidelines, because otherwise that was looking early on like it was going to be another easy first down for the UBC running back.
Calgary, 184 yards on the ground today. UBC with just 63 at this point. Here is O'Connor, 4 targets to his left. Pressure coming up the middle. He'll get this ball into the hands on the far side of JJ Delorier. And not enough for the first down.
He's going to be just shy.
Looked as though backup quarterback Cole Meyer was about to come in here for the short yardage play, but now he stays out. O'Connor will remain in the game, and they bring in Edgar Nelson, the fullback. Maybe make some room here for Ben Cummings. Here's a huge play in the football game. 3rd and 1, midfield. He's into shotgun. O'Connor gets it to Cummings, right up the middle, first down there. Interesting play design, but more than enough accomplished on the play.
That's a gutsy call by UBC to go into shotgun, because that you're forcing your running back basically to pick up 3-4 yards depending on the kind of push from the front 4. But again, credit the offensive line and Nelson, like you mentioned, Dustin, in the game as well, to open up that hole. And Cummings able to gain enough yardage for a UBC first down on this critical drive for the Thunderbirds.
You mentioned it, critical, and they're marching a little bit right now. Inside 2 minutes remaining, third quarter. 4 targets to the right here for O'Connor. He's going to be passing this time, and that one complete, close to a first down for Marshall Cook. thrown back. This will be second and extremely short situation. Actually, it looks as though it'll be more than enough for the first down where he caught that ball. So they'll move it up to the 40.
Good job here, just a curl route for Cook, just comes inside, comes back to the ball right in front of Matthew Lasician. So UBC starting to build a little bit of momentum here offensively on this drive, something we really haven't seen from them all day long.
First and 10 on the Calgary 40. O'Connor, a little bit of time here, looking for Morrison down the field. Morrison's got it! Touchdown, UBC! They strike again with the big play and pull within 7. Morrison's biggest catch of the game.
Huge play again, Alex Morrison. Little hesitation at about the 5-yard line. Not sure, Adam Lorenz saying he got grabbed, but he opened up a bit of extra space. And that's a really nice job by quarterback and receiver. And suddenly UBC right back into this ball game. And here's a look. And that's just a bit of, not sure there's a whole lot of push there from Morrison despite the argument from Lorenz.
A couple of flags fly on this extra point. Yeah, when you look at it there, it didn't seem anything that would have been flag worthy on that battle between Lorenz and Morrison. But Lorenz has done a good job today containing Morrison for the most part. We mentioned had not even had a catch in the first half of this football game, and now I believe he has 3.
No, and when you have a guy like Lorenz, again, we talked earlier the fact that he's a 5-time Canada West All-Star, a two-time first-team All-Canadian, and so a guy that is really tough out on that corner. But UBC has been willing to go at him a little bit. We saw the long one in the first half. We see this one here. So they've been willing to go at him.
Too many men.
And this time
UBC
they have success.
The
first one they didn't, and this is a big, big drive that results in 7
points.
points for the UBC Thunderbirds.
So UBC is going to be forced to re-kick this, I believe.
Too many men on the field.
Too many men on the field in that situation.
Usually not something you're too concerned about on a convert, but nonetheless they'll force them to kick it again.
Hutchins out here for the extra point again. His team down 28-20. You look at what's happened for UBC today. Ben Cummings, one of their big playmakers, touchdown. Travell Pinto, another one of the big playmakers, touchdown. Alex Morrison, the third of kind of the big 3 offensively here for the Thunderbirds. All 3 of them got into the end zone today.
And in a game like this, you have to have your big players step up, and they have.
Send it down to the sidelines with Darren DuPont.
Guys are just talking about big players stepping up in big games. How much pressure do you feel to be one of those big game players?
Well, it's what I've been doing the last few days, and it's what I train and prepare for. So, team needs me, needs everyone here to step up. So, we're looking to turn this thing around now.
The touchdown obviously huge to get you guys back into this football game, but how big is it mentally to make sure to keep you guys focused?
Definitely. We're a little bit stale on offense for a little bit. We've been hit and miss, so hopefully this is the spark that keeps us going.
Congratulations on the touchdown.
Thank you.
Should be a broadcaster. I think he sums it up nicely. They've been a little bit stale, but they need to get it going, and that's a big play for them. We mentioned it. The 3 touchdowns they've had today have all been big plays against this Calgary defense.
Yeah, and they just have not been able to, until that drive, have really not been able to sustain any kind of momentum offensively. That was a good drive. A lot really driven on the ground with Ben Cummings and opening up some holes for him.
His kick will be taken at the 20, now brought back to the 25, and really nowhere to go, wrapped up at about the 27.
Jacob Escuerdo on the return there. Another young player with football in his blood. His dad, JP Escuerdo, part of the largest trade in CFL history, an 8-for-8 deal back in early 1993 between the Edmonton Eskimos and Toronto Argonauts. He came from Toronto to the Eskimos, ended up winning a Grey Cup that year with the Eskimos, and as a former Calgary Dino.
The old classic 8-for-8.
Yeah, you know, just what pretty standard stuff.
It's only been happening in fantasy leagues. As this carry pushes ahead for about 8 or 9 yards for the Dinos. So once again, trying to continue with this run game, and why not? It has been working so far today for you, and especially Robert Stewart.
Well, that's what they've been able to do, is get into second and short, and they've been content to keep running the ball, even in short yardage situations like this, where sometimes 2nd and 1, you might look to take a shot deep.
2nd and 1, as Doug mentioned, on the 36. They'll hand it off to Stewart. Had to hesitate, cut it back. Pretty good job there by that UBC defense. I'm not sure if he had enough for the first down. Dante Vigini in on the tackle. Stavros Katsantonis up there as well. They're going to be short.
They're not even going to measure, so they feel that he's well short. So it'll still be 3rd and less than a yard.
Josiah Joseph territory here as the backup quarterback, short yardage QB. This will be his 4th play of the football game here. He's bounced it outside all 3 times. We keep it here. They'll hand it off. And maybe a good push there from Stewart. And you look where he is at the bottom of that pile. He's got enough for the first down. So they've gone outside, outside, outside. This time a handoff to the running back right up the middle, Doug.
Yeah, the one thing we haven't seen Calgary do is just the QB sneak right up behind guard or center. That hasn't happened so far for the Dinos.
We are through 3/4 of the 81st Hardy Cup on a beautiful afternoon in Calgary, and we've got a football game on our hands. 28-21, the Dinos lead.
Timer, there's 1 second left in the quarter.
Varsity kickoff. Their uniforms won't stay white for too long on this day. A 58-yard touchdown run. They add the Banyan Cup to their collection. But Bradley intercepts. Inside the 20, could be gone. To Malberg. Touchdown!
28-21, Calgary Dinos leading the UBC Thunderbirds. No matter the end result of today's ball game, UBC head coach Blake Nill and U Sports success seem to go hand in hand. A coaching career that's now 25 years, going back to 1992. And Nill said it was more by accident. After a CFL playing career was over after 5 years, he looked for his master's in education at St. Francis Xavier University. And part of the application process was they would accept his application if he was to coach the football team. So Blake accepted that. He became defensive coordinator for 6 years at St. FX. It was a struggling program. They went to the Vanier Cup championship game in 1996, lost to Saskatchewan, but then Nill took on the head coaching job with St. Mary's, and that was the move that ensured to him that he wanted to teach on the football field rather than in the classroom. And big success at St. Mary's, Vanier Cup champs in 01 and 02, and then he came to Calgary in 2006, a program that hadn't won in the playoffs in 10 years. 2 years later, they were Hardy Cup champions on a run that still continues now with 10 straight appearances in the Canada West Football Championship game. And then to UBC in 2015. Remember, the year before that, they were 2-6 and out of the playoffs, and they'll turn that around into a Vanier Cup title in 2015. But his team's got a little bit of work ahead of them down in this 81st Hardy Cup Championship game. And for the fourth quarter, back upstairs we go. Dustin Nielsen and Doug McLean. Guys.
Thank you very much, Andy. Pretty impressive resume there for one Blake Nill as you get a look at the stats through 3 quarters. Time of possession still heavily favoring the Dinos, but still, once again, only leading by 1 score in this football game, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, 13-minute advantage in favor of the Dinos is just an incredible statistic. First downs, they're dominating there. 2 yards rushing, we've talked a lot about that. Passing yards, pretty even, which we expected coming into this game, but the fact that UBC is down 7 when you look at some of those numbers is pretty surprising, but that comes back a little bit to the fact that Calgary has not been able to punch in scores, and it's very similar to what the Golden Bears faced last week, where they couldn't punch in either, and Calgary was able to push ahead in the second half. UBC, can they take the same advantage of the fact that they were able to hold the Dinos to field goals in the first half?
So 197 yards on the ground for Calgary so far today. 173 of those come on 30 attempts from Robert Stewart so far here this afternoon. So that's really been the big difference. That's allowed the time of possession to be dominant. That has moved the ball for the Calgary Dinos, and I would assume maybe that's how they seal this game away in the hands of Robert Stewart as well. They'll be throwing here, and that's going to come underneath for a first down and more. A big play here for the Dinos to start the fourth quarter on the near side of the field, down to the 30, and cutting it back once again. Hunter Carl will not be stopped. Takes it down to the 15.
Two big things on this play. That is a great individual effort by Hunter Carl, but watch the effort of the receivers to get out in front of him and block downfield. This is the individual effort part here, shaking tackles, getting loose, but then watch the red jerseys as they continue. Robert Stewart coming from his backfield position all the way downfield to open up more yards. That is team football right there. So individual and team coming together for a huge play for the Calgary Dinos.
Hunter Carl, 6 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown here today. And this is after the week he had last week, which he had 10 catches for 145 yards. Injured Dino down on the field right now.
That's number 50,
Saeed Hosang,
for the Thunderbirds, walking off. Calgary very good. When they get pushed, they push back. And that's the sign of a good team. And so UBC gets that score. Now UBC now having to deal with that pushback from the Dinos here early in this fourth quarter. And Hunter Carl, a big part of it.
While holding the Dinos to a field goal attempt here would be huge. Trailing by 7, less than 15 minutes away from crowning a Hardy Cup champion. Sonegra hands it off to Stewart. And Stewart had a couple of good moves to get down and almost pick up another first down. He is having himself a day here, near unstoppable for this UBC defense.
Nice hole opened up here. There you see it between the center, Darius Sirocco, and right guard Ryan Sevier. And Elliott Graham there, number 9. He closes quickly, but again, Robert Stewart able to spin out of that for another yard or 2.
Yeah, even as he was wrapped up there by Elliott Graham, he still picked up another yard or 2 on that play. 2nd and 3 now for Sonegra. Stewart again, why not? And how about this? A good job there by that Calgary defense. They closed on him quickly there. Evan Horton, one of 2 T-Birds in on that tackle. This will force a field goal attempt for the Dinos.
Huge stop for UBC, and as you said, Evan Horton, number 47, along with 91, Connor Griffiths, seal off that hole. And Calgary forced to settle it yet again for another field goal.
It will give them the 10-point lead, but they have settled for a number of field goals so far today. DeFonte, 3 of 5 on the afternoon. This one, a little bit more than a chip shot. 21-yarder straight on for DeFonte. And he will hammer that one home to push the lead to 10, 31-21. The Dinos leading, but for UBC, after giving up that big play to Hunter Carl to hold him to 3 points, I think Blake Nill, who will never really look happy, may be happy about that situation.
I think he has to be, and it shouldn't really be a big surprise. The fact that this is the top-ranked defense in the conference. This is a team that is not going to give up a ton of points. Calgary, though, on the season in the red zone, 82% scoring inside the 20. 67% cashing in with touchdowns, and that has not really been the situation today for the Dinos inside the 20.
Trailing by 10, O'Connor takes over at the 35 for this UBC offense. A ton of time here for the big fella. Now he's going to roll to his right, looks downfield, Marshall Cook got it, knocked away as he stepped out of bounds. But they're going to say it's a completed pass on the far side of the field.
Came in and out of his hands pretty quickly, but this is a good effort by Michael O'Connor with that pressure. Uses his feet, and then Marshall Cook does a good job, too, to open himself up for his quarterback. Oh, that's a pretty, oh boy, I think that's an incomplete pass. When you see that, that's a really good effort getting over there. Wow. Lucian
seemed to strip it before Cook actually had possession.
Now here comes some pressure this time. O'Connor has to roll to his right, and that will be complete to Travell Pinto, and he will hang on, and he is going to have a first down for UBC as well.
Michael O'Connor, when he first got to Vancouver, was mentored a little bit by a pretty decent quarterback in his day, Warren Moon. He came up from Seattle to help him out. And that play there reminded me a little bit of Warren Moon, able to throw hard off your back foot. That's not an easy thing to do because you can't step into the throw. And with that pressure, O'Connor couldn't do that, but still able to complete it to Travell Pinto.
UBC marching, looking to answer back with a major of their own. O'Connor from just inside the 25, pressure coming, gets it away, up for grabs, and that one incomplete in the corner. O'Connor was hit as he let that ball fly. He was looking for Morrison, who was engaged in another terrific battle with Adam Lorenz.
And a couple times now we've seen that pressure off the edge, something we haven't seen throughout this game from the Dinos, but that time Cyril Iwanibe comes off the edge, able to get into the face of O'Connor, who had to maybe get rid of that throw a half second earlier than he wanted to.
Morrison was all tied up there by Lorenz, left arm completely wrapped up, tried to make the one-handed catch. Not going to happen there. 2nd and 10 now for O'Connor. 3 targets to his left, nobody to his right. He's going to roll to the left now. Now he's going to look towards the end zone, has a man! Touchdown! Marshall Cook slid under that ball, controlled it as he brought it down, and UBC pulls back within striking distance here against the Dinos.
Well, you couldn't throw that ball any better if you're Michael O'Connor. That's about the only spot you could throw it to, and Marshall Cook does a great job coming back to it. And there you see O'Connor just unleashes it. And that's a pretty tough call for the official, whether he has control before he hits the white stripe. And he does. I think that's the right call. That's close, but it's the right call.
Hutchins, extra point, no problem. And we've got a 3-point football game with 11:35 remaining in the 4th quarter of the 81st Hardy Cup.
Big difference in this game. UBC able to cash in with touchdowns. Calgary has struggled to do that. That's why we have a 3-point game despite the time of possession, despite the 100 extra yards of offense the Dinos have over UBC, and despite the dominance on the ground.
4 touchdown passes. This is the 4th right here. 4 touchdown passes for Michael O'Connor today.
You heard Travell Pinto talk earlier, the fact that Calgary likes to play man-to-man, and that time Lucician, that's pretty good coverage. I'm not sure what else you can do if you're Matthew Lucician. That's just a perfectly thrown ball.
Perfectly executed on the catch as well.
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
If anything goes wrong in either of those 2 aspects of that completed pass, and it's not happening. I mean, it was a perfect throw from O'Connor and a great job by Cook. That's the 4th different receiver to catch a ball today for O'Connor.
4 touchdown passes. Yeah, now for Michael O'Connor, is having himself a heck of a day.
3-point game, 31-28. Don't go anywhere here. 81st Hardy Cup has been a beauty. And now this return brought back out to the 15, up to about the 17. Let's send it down to the sidelines with Darren DuPont.
4 touchdowns, 4 different receivers. How much is the score by committee approach working for you guys right now?
I think the ability to actually do that and spread the ball all over the field makes us a much harder team to stop. I know that we have some fantastic athletes, and we really want to do things to get them into their hands, but the ability to spread the ball all over the field makes us a pretty dangerous unit.
The sun's kind of gone down, and it's really cooled off here from what we saw earlier in the opening half. How has that changed the way you guys are able to approach the game?
I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I mean, temperature's a little different than playing in BC, but really we've been doing this all year, and we've been here before, so we know what we do in terms of getting acclimated and making sure we're doing everything we can to win.
A little bit further to go now. Congratulations on the touchdown.
Thank you.
Is that Darren DuPont saying it's cold down there again? I tell you, this guy, he just won't give it up on the weather after last week.
So next game needs to be in what, Phoenix? Is that? I guess that's where we're gotta go.
Okay, we got 2 things to get to. There's one of them. That is Eric Nusel, the returner for the Calgary Dinos. And as soon as this play, you'll watch right away here, he feels it.
And again, that left ankle getting caught in the turf. And he just immediately grabs for it. And again, not sure if it's his ankle or it looks like they're holding on to his knee, but that's a tough break. And we'll look again at the out-of-town scores. And so still in the 4th quarter, so time remaining. Laval now only up by 3
on Les Carabins de Montréal, so 25-22. And then in the Yates Cup, of course, as we mentioned, Western all over Laurier. And if you're just joining us, you may not have heard Andy Neal and Darren DuPont talk at halftime about the fact that the Loney Bowl in Atlantic Canada postponed, canceled. We're not exactly sure yet. Legal proceedings being undertaken today to determine if the game may still be played. So teams all over the place are practicing, and it's a very interesting story coming out of Atlantic Canada, the ineligible player for the St. Mary's Huskies.
Would up in the air be best way to describe it?
That's
maybe
probably
right now?
better.
There's a look at the Hardy Cup champions Calgary, looking to go back-to-back for the first time since, well, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. And here again against UBC in this rubber match that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and these are the two programs that over the last few years have, I mean, Calgary has been there at UBC with the move of Blake Nill out to the West Coast, and he can't go any, he's moved from East Coast to West Coast. UVic doesn't have a football team, so
there's nowhere left to go.
I guess he could go coach in the NCAA at Hawaii or something. He could work out that far west, but these have become the dominant programs. The Saskatchewan Huskies for many, many years, the dominant program in Canada West. Manitoba's been good and consistent. Regina's been good and consistent. The Alberta Golden Bears
have struggled.
Consistent, but not on the good side of consistent. They were, frankly, the dominant program in Canada West back in the 60s and 70s, and even into the early 80s when they made back-to-back Vanier Cup appearances in 1980 and 81. But they have not been back winners of a Hardy Cup since, but it has been Calgary and UBC and continue to be that way here right now.
They continue to work on Eric Nusel, who lays on his back at about the 17-yard line. That touchdown that was scored by Marshall Cook was the fourth different receiver to catch a touchdown pass today from Michael O'Connor. Cook is kind of developing here as a big story in this football game. Coming into the game today, this is the guy who had 9 catches in the regular season, and he had 2 catches last week. So he had 11 catches so far this season. Today, he has 6 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. So when we talked about who else is going to step up, because UBC, Ben Cummings, Morrison Pinto, kind of that 3-man powerhouse offensively, Marshall Cook's been the story today.
Yeah, and before we get to that, just good to see Eric Nusel up and getting helped off.
No pressure on the leg, though.
None at all. But yeah, you're right. And as you mentioned very correctly earlier in the broadcast, that UBC had to have somebody else step up. And Marshall Cook is the prototypical receiver in terms of size, relatively quick, good hands, but just hasn't maybe had the opportunity this year that he might have liked. But again, 101 yards today. He had 100 yards on the season, like you talked about. So a guy that's really stepped up. And this is interesting, just going back to the Nusel injury and not to diagnose it, but the third time now we've seen guys get caught in the turf. And the modern day artificial turf is pretty good. It's pretty forgiving. The rubber pellets there to make sure your feet can slide. But I wonder if, with the temperatures being a little different and no snow, so you don't have that give, if that's what's causing all these players to have their feet get locked a little bit in the turf more than we might normally see.
3 Dinos, too.
Yeah.
It was all 3 members of the Calgary Dinos. Here's a short pickup on first down for Robert Stewart. That was one of his more contained rushes today by that UBC defense. This UBC defense has been out on the field a lot here this afternoon, and we'll see how that factors in. They've been on the field for more than 30 minutes already in this football game. This time they're going to bring pressure, and that pass up high and brought down on the far side of the field. So a first down here as Hunter Carl once again does exactly what his quarterback needs of him, comes up with a big play.
And that ball goes a bit high on Sinagra too. But a nice job by Carl, knowing again he's going to get hit right in the small of the back from Peyton LaGrange, who isn't a big body, but he hits hard.
Popped him hard on that one as Carl, he's gone up to make 2 or 3 catches today and come down with a not so friendly landing. 10.5 minutes to play. Dinos lead by 3. They've got the ball now on their own 30. Pressure on Sinagra, and he gets rid of it just in time. Scooped up by UBC, but they're going to say, wow, it was an interception?
Okay, I confess I did not see that at all. I thought that was bouncing off the turf.
We're going to need another look at this. I thought it hit the turf.
Sisu Oda appears to have come up with it. They are ruling it as UBC ball as Sinagra with great pressure.
Here's a look, Doug.
You can see Platic comes right at him. And it's an interception.
My goodness, off the hands
of the receiver up in the air and picked off by Oda. And we've seen two bizarre interceptions today.
Hunter Carl gets his hands underneath the ball. That's a heck of a play in the first place, but could not bring it in. It just bounced off his hands and up. And Bashiru Sisu Oda, the first-year cornerback from Surrey, Johnny on the spot, able to pick it up, and what a turn of events here in this ball game.
Well, and once again, a terrific call by the officials on that play.
Absolutely.
I mean, because Hunter Carl's got a couple of fingers under the ball, but that's all you're seeing in that situation. It pops back up in the air, and Sisu Oda is able to hang on to that. Another look at this play.
And Sinagra, Hladik right in his face. It's a heck of a job even to get the ball off. But then Sisu Oda just right in behind Hunter Carl. And Carl knew, you could tell right away, he knew what had happened.
But if you look at it from that angle, I mean, it looks like it hit the turf because it's on the other side of Carl's body. So absolutely tremendous job by the officials to let that play continue. And now UBC, well, with a huge opportunity here at worst to tie this football game.
And Will Maxwell in behind the play. He's hurt and limping off after getting help from the trainer. But yeah, you're right, Dustin. Opportunity now for UBC to take their first lead since early in this football game.
They led 7-1 at one point. Here's O'Connor. 1st and 10 from the 23 of the Dinos after the interception. They'll hand it off to Cummings. Cummings cutting his way back up. And that's a good first down carry. He'll pick up about 8 yards, and it'll be second and very manageable situation here for UBC.
And you'll see on this replay, look at the push from the offensive line. Before Cummings even has to deal with a Dino, he's already 5 yards downfield. What a job there by the offensive line of the UBC Thunderbirds, as they are just creating a wall for Ben Cummings here in this second half.
All-star linebacker Boston Rowe had nowhere to go on that play. 2nd and 2 now from the 15. O'Connor. Cummings again. Cummings right up the middle, and he's going to push it down towards the end zone. Touchdown, Ben Cummings. UBC takes the lead with 9.5 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter.
Ben Cummings makes a heck of a play, but again, I'll sound like a broken record. I cannot speak well enough about what that offensive line did on those 2 plays. Just a huge push downfield from this veteran group. And look at those seals on the outside, and Cummings just has daylight in front of him before he has to worry about anybody wearing red. And Ben Cummings with another touchdown here, this one on the ground. UBC back in front.
A 2-touchdown day for Ben Cummings. 1 through the air in the 1st quarter, 1 on the ground here in the 4th. And this one definitely the biggest of the day for the Thunderbirds as they take a 35-31 lead. Another look right up the middle.
3-man lineup on the line of scrimmage for the Dinos. And that time Cummings, good second effort there from about the 3-yard line in, knowing he was going down to just reach for that goal line and break the plane. And suddenly now it's a different ball game following that interception from Sisu Oda.
What a huge moment in this football game, and then UBC didn't waste any time. I mean, it was very quickly in the end zone, and now all the momentum in favor of the visitors.
Well, I mean, lots of time left here, of course, but if this score holds up, the story of the game is UBC cashing in and Calgary not. That is really the story right now as to why UBC has this 4-point lead. It's touchdowns.
5 touchdowns, no field goals for UBC today. Now here's an opportunity for a big return on the far side of the field. That'll be taken up to the 32 by Molnar. Let's send it down to Darren DuPont.
Ben, you guys were down by 14 points in the 3rd quarter. What has changed that's allowed you guys to come back and now be on top?
We're just trying to win this game. We came out halftime, coming out strong. We're going to keep it going.
How much of a focus do you guys have on finishing drives as opposed to field goals? Because the guys are mentioning you're finishing them, Calgary setting for field goals.
Yeah, we struggled with that at the start of the season. We've worked on it all season. Yeah, we're finishing this game.
Congratulations on the score.
Thank you.
Calgary back to Robert Stewart, and he'll plunge ahead for about 4 yards on that 1st down carry. The Thunderbirds right now, Doug, are in the midst of a 21-3 run. They were down 28-14 in the 3rd quarter. They now lead 35-31. That's 21-3 here.
It's really flipped, and you look at, I mean, Stewart still had a decent second half, but UBC's been able to limit him a little bit. And UBC has been able to generate some momentum offensively, and they've carried that over, and the turnovers have helped them as well. Now here's Sinegra throwing this time. Pressured from behind, got away, picked up the first down and slides it up just inside the 50. Boy, when they needed a big play, their quarterback, Adam Sinegra, came through.
Oh, no question about that. They needed that one on second and relatively long. Good pressure again by UBC, but the speed of Sinegra just outside the arms there of number 90, Elliott Graham. Connor Griffiths rolls off his block but can't get there. And Sinegra, who does not run upfield a ton, 17 carries, 145 yards on the year, does it to his advantage there.
1st and 10 from his own 49. Sinegra down the far side of the field, has a man! Oh my goodness! It's dropped on the far side of the field. Hunter Carl, of all people.
Not the guy you would expect to drop a ball. He, again, looked like busted coverage on the sideline, and he is wide open past Sisu Oda and just does not bring it in. Slows up a little bit there, takes his eye off it as he sees number 18, Katsantonis, coming at him. Not sure if that was a distraction, but that's a huge drop for Hunter Carl.
Wow, he's been so good all day, all season. Now over the middle, that one will be incomplete, but there's a flag on the far side of the field. Although if this is a hold, I guess it would be declined and UBC would get the ball back.
Came up pretty early, so I'm gonna guess it's either offside or procedure. It's offside Calgary, so luckily one of the receivers lined up offside. So momentum clearly in the favor of the UBC Thunderbirds, and not to pick on Hunter Carl, because a big part of why this game is where it is because of him.
He's got 154
right.
yards. Yeah.
But we've talked a few times seeing Calgary about how they respond. They punch back. And that looked like the exact punch back that we were expecting, but Carl just could not bring it in.
Well, last week when the game was tied at 16, they punched back with the big play. Today, they end up falling behind. They had the big play, and Hunter Carl just could not hang on to it. And now this return corralled just inside the 20 by Delorier. And the Calgary defense ought to come out here and make a play against O'Connor in this offense that's been rolling. And it's funny, we're working our way through our second half here, and when a big play happens, I mark it down. You know, could be the big play of the football game. Then 5 minutes later, I'm marking down another play, could be the big play of the football game. And we've still got 7.5 minutes left here, Doug, and could be 3 or 4 more opportunities for the big play of the game.
Yeah, and I think what UBC's been able to do as this game's worn on, I mean, they've leveraged the running game a little bit as you take a look again, the out-of-town scores, and now a final as Laval, the Rougeards defeat Carabin de Montréal, so they will make their way out either to Vancouver or to Calgary in a week's time. But for UBC, they have been able to start to leverage their pass game. And if you look at the numbers over the course of the regular season, UBC's pass offense 8th in U Sport, 305 yards a game, and Calgary's defense 17th in the country. But it's interesting when you think about that, because they're one of the better defensive teams in Canada West, and that speaks maybe to the fact of how many good quarterbacks there are in Canada West that we've been able to watch this year. So 4 of the top 5 passing quarterbacks in the country in terms of yardage are from Canada West. Kyle Siemens number 1, Noah Picton number 3, Sinegra 4, O'Connor 5, and then if you want to throw in Brad Baker, he's 9th in the country. So 5 of the top 9 quarterbacks in the country statistically come out of this conference. So you could have the best secondary going, and you're still going to have a tough time slowing down these guys.
4 All-Stars on this Calgary defense, and O'Connor has put up 21 points on him here in the last 10 minutes of game time. We'll see if they can stop him here. O'Connor, 1st and 10 from his own 21 with a 4-point lead now in this football game, and he'll pitch it outside to Cummings. Big block downfield opens up some room, and Cummings is going to get the first down. Close to it. I believe he will have enough for the first down, so it'll be a fresh set of downs here for the T-Birds after a nice push there from Cummings.
They go double tight ends, which you saw the Alberta Golden Bears do a lot last week, and that results in the pitch. You see number 75, Diego Alatorre, mentioned quickly earlier, from Guadalajara, Mexico. In his first year, recruited from Mexico. He only started playing football 7 years ago, but it's become the 2nd most popular sport in that country right now. So the proximity, of course, to the southern U.S. and its popularity there has bled into Mexico.
Here is O'Connor. A little bit of time. Now he's going to look down the field. The flag flies. That pass is overthrown. Probably a hold with the amount of time that O'Connor had, which is a little surprising because I think they had a 7-man front there in front of him, Doug.
They did, and it is going to be a holding penalty. And on the outside there was just a curl and go. So they knew they had single coverage to the outside,
Holding,
and Morrison runs the
number
curl and then
45,
breaks it upfield, but good
UBC,
coverage
10-yard
out there on the
penalty,
corner
first down repeat.
by Trayshawn Abrahams Webster, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway with the holding penalty against UBC.
1st and 20 now for O'Connor and the T-Birds. They start on their own 23 here, so a big opportunity for this Calgary defense to possibly get the ball back for Sinegra. Let's see what O'Connor can come up with here. Once again, a 7-man front protecting him. O'Connor, far side. That one incomplete. Is that picked off? Picked off on the far side of the field. Trayshawn Abrams-Webster.
One of the only poor decisions on the day from Michael O'Connor. 2 receivers out to the flat. He throws to the inside one where there were numerous red jerseys. Floats it out a little bit. Marshall Cook gets one hand on it, and Abrahams-Webster able to get 2 on it. And that's Calgary football. Huge turnover.
Right place, right time there for Webster. And now, how about this, returning the favor possibly. Calgary, they're going to take a shot to the end zone right away. Touchdown! Dinos answer back. Redemption for Hunter Carl.
Hunter Carl, single coverage up the middle, breaks to the corner. Sinegra waits and then hits him right on the money. Calgary wastes absolutely no time after the turnover. Little play action. And there you see Katsantonis turns to chase to try to help out Malcolm Lee, but he can't get there in time, and Hunter Carl is not dropping 2 in a row. Calgary back in front.
Hunter Carl's 2nd touchdown of the day. He's got 182 yards as the extra point will give the Dinos a lead of 3 with less than 6 minutes remaining in what has just been an amazing Hardy Cup game here in Calgary this afternoon, Doug.
It is, and I'm looking down on the UBC sideline right now at Michael O'Connor, who's just having a little conversation with himself, probably trying to settle himself down. But you see there, good time again for Sinegra, and Hunter Carl able to get past Lee, and Katsantonis could not close quickly enough, and a perfectly thrown ball, and the mustachioed one will come back, so another trip in the time machine for Darren DuPont. The time machine must work better when it's a little warmer out, although apparently it's cooling off down there, so we'll see.
Cooling off down there now. The sun no longer shining on the field, but still a beautiful day here for Calgary in mid-November. And a tremendous football game, 38-35. We really shouldn't have expected anything else from these 2 clubs today.
No, I mean, 2 good defensive teams, but 2 very good offensive teams too, and you've seen the array of weapons that both teams have, and they've been able to cash in. And for Calgary, that's big. Actually, that's only their 3rd touchdown on the day compared to the 5 for UBC.
Delorier on the return, and he's going to try to bust it up the middle. He'll get back to about the 24-yard line before he's wrapped up there. Actually, that was Ben Cummings into the game on the return this time. Send it down to Darren DuPont.
Well, Hunter, you weren't going to drop that ball twice, were you?
No, hope not. I don't know. Definitely just had to make redemption. I mean, I owed it to my teammates. Like, they can't be doing that, especially late in a game like this when it's back and forth and it's going to come down to the last play.
What does it do to this sideline to get big plays like the turnover that leads to the touchdown?
It just gets us a little momentum, a little bit of confidence going into these last 5 minutes. So hopefully the defense can keep it up.
There, as he said, hopefully the defense can keep it up. Brett Wade gets in and wraps up Ben Cummings for a loss on that 1st down carry.
Good burst upfield there by Brett Wade. And drops Cummings for a loss. They have not been able to do that readily here over the course of the last 20 minutes.
2nd and 11 now. Here's a big play in the game. 5 minutes left. T-Birds down by 3, 38-35. Some pressure coming now. O'Connor near side, and that one will be knocked away as
Adam Lorenz wins the battle against Alex Morrison that time, and Morrison might have hung on to that ball if he didn't get popped in the back.
He might have. It was a perfectly thrown ball right into the hands of Morrison. Calgary sent pressure. They sent Boston Rowe up the middle. UBC picked it up and one-on-one to the outside, and here you get a great look at it right into your living room. Just, he was out of his hands a little bit when Lorenz closed, and the fifth-year receiver, Alex Morrison, could not haul that one in.
So they will have to punt this ball away with just under 5 minutes remaining. Hutchins stands on his 10. The kick, a pretty good one. It's going to come down just inside the 50. And nowhere to go there. And a big hit made downfield there by Edgar Nelson, fullback for the Thunderbirds. And right at midfield is where Calgary will go to work here, Doug, with a 3-point lead.
It's a really good field position. Again, still lots of time if you're UBC, but you need a stop. You can afford, I suppose, to give up a field goal here, but you really need a stop. Give yourself time to march back down.
1st and 10, ball smack dab at midfield. Dinos, Adam Sinegro, the quarterback, leading by 3. They'll hand it off to Stewart. And Stewart able to make a couple of men miss, pushing another one out of the way. Picks up about 6 yards on that first down carry.
UBC looked like they had Stewart stopped up at about a 3-yard gain, but able to continue to push up field. So that'll put Calgary in second and about 4.
Over 190 yards here for Stewart on the day. UBC defense, if you're going to hold them not without a field goal here, you're going to have to make a play soon. 34 minutes of possession for the Dinos today. Some pressure this time. Right up the middle. They're going to get to Sinegro and take him down. There's the defensive play that you needed. Flag, far side of the field. And we'll see where this one goes. Is this going to be against UBC?
It's right at the line of scrimmage, so that typically indicates offside or procedure. No, it's going to be illegal contact against UBC, so a big penalty that wipes out what was a huge play. And that's going to be a first down for Calgary.
Wow. Talk about illegal swings in this football game, Doug.
They've been all over
UBC,
the place, back and forth.
10-yard penalty,
turnovers,
first down.
key penalties at key times.
Well, that would have been a punting situation for the Dinos. Instead, they're going to have a first down on the UBC 39 with 3.5 remaining.
And Blake Nils pacing the sidelines. I think he wants to know who that penalty was on because they didn't actually announce the number.
Another flag as this ball's handed off to Stewart, and he goes nowhere.
This one again at the line of scrimmage, so it came up pretty early. So I'm thinking confidently this time it's going to be procedure or offside. This time again against UBC, another penalty. So they're just helping the Calgary cause right now.
Almost handing this game to the Dinos here with these penalties.
Offside, UBC, number 29.
So that'll set up now a 1st and 5 situation on the 34. Nico DeFonte's long on the season is 49. He's missed 2 today, though. And if you're Calgary, you're thinking punch one in here and almost seal this thing up.
Yeah, you punch one in, you pretty much punch your ticket to next weekend.
Sinegro. Stewart again, and Stewart bounces off of one man and spins ahead for close to a first down.
Again, met about 4 yards downfield and then able to kick it out. Katsantonis steps up to make the tackle. You can see right around Hladek. Katsantonis, number 18, able to bring him down. But it is a first down for Calgary, and time maybe becoming a bit of the enemy here for UBC, although field position for Calgary in the sense helps UBC because they're going to have to do something, either score a touchdown, which puts UBC in big trouble, or it's going to be a field goal.
2:50 remaining in the 81st Hardy Cup. It's a 3-point lead for the Dinos, and they're knocking on the door for more. This pass complete. And almost able to stay on the feet there, the Calgary receiver, Hunter Carl. He'll pick up about 4 yards before he's touched down there.
Just a quick look to the outside. There's an out route there by Carl comes back to the ball, and Will Maxwell is back in the game after being hurt earlier. Able just to get enough of Carl to bring him down, much to the chagrin of number 86.
I'd look at a two-man attack today. Robert Stewart's got 196 yards on the ground. Hunter Carl closing in on 190 through the air. Remarkable. Stewart again, and this time he's wrapped up, and they will be in a position here where they will have to kick a field goal with just over 2 minutes remaining, Doug.
And for the most part, as they've done all day, UBC able to do that. They survive again, force another field goal. Nice job there. Elliot Graham, number 90, in on the tackle.
You are right, though. I mean, that has been the story here. The T-Birds have punched in 5 touchdowns, and here are the Dinos in a good spot.
Yeah,
they're up 38-35,
sure.
but they're settling for another field goal in this situation.
And so with time becoming a challenge now for UBC, it forces, this field goal is big, of course, because it forces UBC to have to score a major to put themselves back in front, but they're giving themselves a chance, and that's, if you're UBC, all you can ask for.
28-yarder for Nico DeFonte. And this kick is up. This one, no doubt about it. The lead is 6. The time remaining is less than 2 minutes. And it'll be Michael O'Connor coming out to work from his 35 with a chance to lead his team down the field here and win a Hardy Cup, Doug. You couldn't ask for a bigger situation for a quarterback.
No, and that's what you want. And a leader, when you're a leader on the team, you know that Michael O'Connor is upset at himself for that throw, the interception earlier that led to the Hunter Carl touchdown. And leaders and big game quarterbacks find ways in key moments. And so this is Michael O'Connor's moment. We've talked a lot about how patient he is. He's patient in the pocket. He doesn't force things. He's got time. You don't have to force things downfield right now if you're Michael O'Connor. So patience can still be part of your mindset as you hopefully, if you're UBC, hopefully march your way to a score.
And take the kickoff here instead of at 35, Doug. It's an interesting decision, is it not?
Yeah, that's a bit of a, I'm a bit surprised because the return game hasn't been, well, huge. And the thing too is that we've seen DeFonte kick these into the end zone, forcing single points, which all you're going to do is give a point and get the ball back in the 35 anyway.
And on top of that, they've been kicking it away from Travell Pinto anyway, which to me would be the only reason you go for a kickoff, because Pinto has that breakaway speed. So an interesting decision here from UBC. I'm actually very surprised by this. And once again, they will kick it away. And this one will come to Cummings. He'll take it in front of Pinto, and Cummings will get it back to the 17. Bizarre.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I mean, what's going on? That's so strange to me.
I absolutely have no answer for you at all. I'm not sure what the advantage of that was.
You're starting, 17, 18 yards back from where you were going to be handed it at the 35. Huh. Well, we've got
that's why we're up here. Is that the
well, I guess it makes sense, but a minute and 51 seconds to work here for O'Connor. He starts on his 18, and this one will be complete on the near side of the field. And that into the hands of Ben Cummings. He'll pick up about 6 yards before being forced out of bounds. Second and medium range here for UBC. They're in 3-down territory now anyway.
They are, and you still got time where you can do this. You don't have to, as I said, force things downfield. So you can run Cummings out to the flat and throw the ball to him there. See if you can draw the attention of some of the linebackers. And then if you can take your shot downfield, but at some point UBC is going to have to push this ball a little further than that.
O'Connor now, 2nd and 4. He'll be throwing here patiently, gets it to Morrison, and he will hang on with Lorenz in his back pocket. First down UBC, 1:42 on the clock.
That's not easy to do, and Morrison didn't actually come back to the ball, but those are strong hands to bring that one in. It's a little bit, not a high pass, but one you have to bring up from above your head. And that's an easier one for a cornerback to knock down.
Now they're up to the 30. 1st and 10 actually from the 31. O'Connor throwing again. Has Cummings underneath. Quickly out to Morrison, and that will be complete. Close to another first down as they attack Lorenz, which is not easy to do considering, what's he, a 5-time Canada West All-Star.
That's right. And they're going at him here a little bit right now. Calgary content to send 3. They're dropping 9 into coverage for the most part.
2nd and short. O'Connor quickly again, and this one behind Delorier, and now it'll be a 3rd and short situation for UBC.
That time Calgary lines up 3 at the line of scrimmage, and then Iwanibe comes off the right side. And O'Connor had to get rid of that one a little quicker than he wanted, in behind Travell Pinto. So we'll see what UBC does. We've seen them in shotgun in this situation before, so we'll see if he lines up under center, or yeah, it looks like they're going to go in shotgun.
In shotgun, needing a yard with the game on the line for O'Connor. They'll hand it off to Cummings. He's got the first down and more. Ben Cummings is going to plow it ahead up to the 49. Wow. That could have gone a bad way for UBC, but Ben Cummings makes it work.
Ben Cummings does a great job there. There was a good pursuit upfield by Calgary. You see the red jersey, but he's able to get through that and gain first down yardage.
O'Connor from the 49 now. That's complete to Cummings out of the backfield. He'll get out of bounds, and he'll pick up about 4 yards on that first down reception as UBC has marched the ball up to midfield. Doug, they've got 67 seconds left to work.
And they haven't had a play other than, well, even the Cummings run, they haven't had a play really over 8 or 9 yards. So they've been content to keep it underneath right now, despite the fact the clock is not their friend.
67 seconds from midfield for O'Connor. 3 targets to his left. And O'Connor near side. Trey Kellogg, first catch of the game for Kellogg. And it's enough for a first down, and we'll stop the clock here as well.
Right in front of Abrahams Webster. So throws to the field side, and Kellogg left pretty open. They're going to say he's just shy of the first down, though. So
I thought he had it. 3rd down and 1. Shotgun again. Nelson in the game again to lead for Cummings. Calgary's going to bring pressure right up the middle. Cummings busts through, and he'll take it down inside the 45. Wow. 2 3rd and 1s in the shotgun, and Ben Cummings gets it done both times. 55 seconds on the clock.
Well, if you're a UBC fan, or maybe even a UBC coach, you got to think your heart rate's going up a little bit in shotgun. Calgary jamming the box, but Cummings able to find a hole.
1st and 10 from the 45 now for O'Connor. Over the middle, that'll be complete. Travell Pinto, they've got to move quickly here. 47 seconds, but they've marched this ball down, and now, Doug, they're on the 37.
Clock stops until it gets blown in again, so still time for UBC to set up. 47 seconds, lots of time on the clock for UBC.
Field goal won't do it. They need 6 for the tie. Cummings up the middle. Ben Cummings takes it inside the 20. Now he's going to swing it to the far side. Taken down inside the 12. What a drive for Ben Cummings, and UBC knocking on the door.
And again, the offensive line with such a huge push up front. And look at the hole, just a gaping hole up the middle there.
Timeout. UBC.
And Ben Cummings able to get inside the Calgary 15-yard line. Ryan Von N, number 77, into the game on the offensive line, part of opening up that big hole. And you could see Cummings as soon as he got up. There you see 77 Von N. As soon as he gets up, he's calling for a timeout. He's like, I need a break. And Coach Blake Nill obliges, giving him that break. What a very well executed drive to this point for UBC. They have really not forced anything. Patience, as I said, they've been able to be patient on this drive, and they still have lots of time inside the Calgary 15.
Ben Cummings now 133 yards on 18 carries. The majority of that coming here in the second half. At halftime, he only had 29 yards. So,
well, this is a guy who was a Canada West All-Star. I mean, running backs have taken a seat this year to Ed Elnicki because of the numbers he put up. But this is a guy in Ben Cummings who has been there before and has been an All-Star in this conference.
1st and 10 from the 13. They need a touchdown here. 35 seconds on the clock. O'Connor, Cummings up the middle. Ben Cummings takes it down to the 6, where he's wrapped up with 30 seconds remaining in this football game.
The nice thing, if you're UBC, you can get another first down. And for Calgary, you're thinking in a drive late in the game that you don't have to worry as much about the run. But because of how UBC's been able to move the ball, they've had to bring more guys to the line. So we'll see now what O'Connor does.
2nd and 3 from the 6. O'Connor is going to look to the end zone. Touchdown UBC, far side of the field. Alex Morrison puts the T-Birds in a tie at 41.
Alex Morrison, when Darren DuPont talked to him, said he's here to make big plays. And the 5th-year receiver does exactly that. This ball is actually thrown a little bit short
And you can see the battle. Look at that, over top of Lorentz. Lorentz never turns his head at all, despite he's in fact, he's in great coverage. And what a play there by Alex Morrison to give UBC a chance now at a lead.
An extra point for the Hardy Cup. That kick is hammered home, and UBC takes a 42-41 lead with 16 seconds left in an absolute thriller at McMahon.
Look at that. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a flag thrown on Lorentz because he had his hands around Alex Morrison. No flag though, but what a job by Morrison to keep his eyes focused on the ball and not worry about Lorentz draped all over him. Incredible play. This has been an unbelievable end to this football game, back and forth, and still time left for the Calgary Dinos, who have an explosive offense, and we'll see if they can find a way to propel themselves through to another Hardy Cup win. There you see Coach Wayne Harris, a little bit of concern obviously on his face.
Field goal would win it. Missed field goal through the end zone would tie it.
Well, stranger things have certainly happened.
42-41 UBC with 16 seconds left. They'll kick this away. They'll drive it hard and low. This one will come down in the end zone, and they will take a knee there. 14 seconds left, 43-41.
Of course, their regular returner Eric Newsel out of the game with that left leg injury, so Justin Dasiak there into the game and wisely decides to take a knee. Now you give yourself at least a shot. You're at the 35 if you're Sinagra. You've really got maybe 3 plays at all. So you've got to look right now to get yourself into UBC territory, I think. Then give yourself quickly a shot into field goal range. I mean, that's really all you can do.
Once again, Nico DeFonte's long on the season, 49. He's missed 2 today. 14 seconds on the clock, and a whistle. Timeout, UBC.
And Coach Nill on the sidelines.
UBC. That's their second timeout.
Having a conversation. Ben Hladek was actually on the sideline, which is a bit of a surprise.
He's a starting middle linebacker.
So just having a bit of a chat, trying to see what they may want to do here in terms of personnel.
The Dinos at home, trailing by 2 with 14 seconds left in a 43-41 football game in the 81st Hardy Cup. You literally could not have scripted this thing any better this afternoon, Doug.
No, and there you look at Calgary, and I mean, time is certainly a challenge for them right now, and a team that has been so dominant in Canada West. They've appeared in 4 of the last 8 Vanier Cups, losing 3 to Laval, who will make their trip out west next week. So for Calgary, they want another shot to see if they can get over the hump and win one of those Vanier Cups. But right now, UBC with this lead in the way, and you saw quickly the time of possession again, just almost unheard of, the amount of time that Calgary has held the ball more than UBC.
Here we go, 14 seconds on the clock. Sinagra, 5 men downfield, pressure coming from the backside. That ball up for grabs. Ledwose brought it down. Tyler Ledwose hauls it in at the 53. 8 seconds on the clock.
So they got themselves near UBC territory. So now with 8 seconds left, the only challenge you have here is that to throw downfield is going to eat up so much time. You may be pushing yourself into danger territory. So do you make the decision to try to throw this close to the end zone now? I'm not sure. That's going to be a tough decision for the Calgary coaching staff. But it's going to have to be likely a quick hitter over the middle. See if you can get yourself in and around the 35-yard line and still give yourself maybe 2-3 seconds to get your kicking team on the field.
This game could come down to the leg of Nico DeFonte. Calgary will need at least one more big play to make that happen. 49-yarder is long, so you'd be looking at around like the 42 in that range. Although I was talking about it in warm-up, Doug, and we were watching DeFonte in warm-up, and he was hitting from 50.
Yep, he was. So he's got the leg. There's no doubt about that. And now Travell Pinto into the game as a deep safety for UBC.
8 seconds on the clock. Sinagra taking a little bit of time here. He'll dump it underneath. They've got 3 seconds left. And they will get out of bounds, but they're only at the 52 with 2 seconds left.
So now you have to throw to the end zone. Now you have no chance. You got to throw to the end zone. As you said, Dustin, a little bit of pressure from UBC, and that forced Niagara to scramble. And then he just had to get rid of it. And they're going to bring in DeFonte.
Oh my goodness. Nico DeFonte.
Everybody behind the yellow.
So they are, line of scrimmage is the UBC 52. This is
he's setting up at the 59.
This is a 59-yard attempt, and in front of me I don't have the Canada West record.
Well, I'll tell you, Hardy Cup's never been won on a 59-yarder.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Nico DeFonte from 59 yards. Yes, that's right, 59 yards for a Hardy Cup. Kick is up. Does it have the leg? It does! Are you kidding me? Nico DeFonte from 59 yards to win the 81st Hardy Cup. Unbelievable! He's being mobbed on the field by everyone. Wow! I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I don't even know what to say. Calgary absolutely going nuts. UBC despondent.
Heartbreaker.
And DeFonte, despite the fact he was 5 for 7, but he had not seemingly kicked with huge leg. But this one, he knew he had it between the uprights. Did he have enough distance? Unbelievable. UBC seemed to have this game completely in their control, and DeFonte pulls it out. Absolutely incredible.
I have no more words for this football game here this afternoon. 44-43, Calgary wins the 81st Hardy Cup on a 59-yard field goal with no time left on the clock. Unbelievable and amazing for the Dinos, but absolutely heartbreaking for UBC. You saw Travell Pinto catch that ball in the end zone and just kick it into the air. Because you think from 59, there's no chance.
No.
His season long was 49.
I mean, as you said, like he in warm-up was, had, pretty good leg. But again, it's cooled off. That has an impact. There's all kinds of factors at play. But he just put his head down and absolutely hammered it. And the fact that he was able to get, basically a 60, 61-yard kick, that's absolutely incredible to me. I didn't think that he had a hope there. With all respect to DeFonte, did not think there was any chance that ball was getting where it got to.
And that has to be one of the most impressive kicks in the history of Canadian football.
Yes.
Not the Canadian Football League, Canadian football.
I agree with you.
A 59-yarder to win the Hardy Cup with no time left on the clock.
And there you see Hunter Carl and DeFonte. You could see that he'd hit it well, but it just seemed to carry. And I'm thinking, this thing's got a shot. Absolutely unreal. Back and forth game, and UBC, who looked to have sealed a home date next week. At least, if you look at it this way, Calgary won it. What else can you say?
Yeah,
nothing.
You stopped Calgary at the 52.
That's right.
And they
what
were
else can you
forced to
ask?
kick a 59-yard field goal to beat you, and they did.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what else you can.
But Calgary gets the ball with 16 seconds left. UBC got the ball and decided to, instead of taking it to the 35, take the kickoff, managed to march down the field. They score a touchdown on an amazing catch by Morrison to take the lead in this thing. There's 16 seconds left. What's going to happen in 16 seconds? Niagara gets them all the way out to midfield, and then DeFonte hits a 59-yarder. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, one of the best football games I've certainly seen this year and maybe ever. And there you can see the UBC sideline, tears all over the place. Again, it's just so hard to, there you see Travell Pinto
They felt that this was theirs, and defensively late they backed off as you would tend to do. And I'm thinking there's no way that they're going to try to kick that ball. You think they're going to throw to the end zone? They had to, because Sinagra almost ran out of time on that second down play. So just an unbelievable finish to what was an unbelievable game, and you see it on both sides, the tears and the joy.
Well, let's send it down to a busy man now, Darren DuPont.
All right, everybody wants a piece of Nico DeFonte. They're kissing the feet, the magical foot. This is incredible. I don't know. How do you take me through that kick, because there's not a lot of words.
It's a perfect snap, perfect pin. I just did my job. We got close enough. Happy I got a chance. Something I dream about at night, so I'm happy I got it.
We were looking 49 yards your season long. We thought that was the range. You had to get to the 42. Then they make the decision to come out for a 59-yard field goal. What's your range? Did you think, have you hit that field goal before?
Never have I ever hit that field goal, but the team believed in me, so I believed in myself. I'm just happy Coach Harris gave me the shot.
Where do you go from here? How do you top this?
Vanier, I mean, one kick, but you know what? We got to win next week, and then the goal's of Vanier, so let's get there, and I'll be happy with the season.
This is a chapter that's never been written in the storied history of the Hardy Cup. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Go enjoy this one.
I will. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Dustin?
Darren DuPont, we believe Nico DeFonte, who runs back to his teammates, now holds the all-time record for the longest field goal in Canada West history. We have the regular season records in front of us, and the regular season record was 55. So unless there was a longer kick in the playoffs that we don't have record of.
Yeah, so Jamie Borum, former CFLer, kicked a 55-yarder for Manitoba back in 2001, and then Grant Shaw for the Saskatchewan Huskies also kicked a 55-yarder in 2009. So, I mean, we have to believe that there is not one that has happened in a playoff game.
Send it down to Andy Neal.
The trophy and banner presentation with Dr. Elizabeth Cannon, the president of the University of Calgary. And without further ado, can we call on the Calgary captains to receive the A.E. Hardy Cup and the Canada West Championship Trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, your 81st Hardy Cup champion, the Calgary Dinos.
UBC standing there still wondering how that happened. They drive the field and take the lead and console each other now because Nico DeFonte kicks a 59-yarder to win the Hardy Cup. 44-43, and the Thunderbirds could not have done much more today. I mean, they held Calgary, who now parades around and gets ready to host Laval next week. Tremendous game from both of these teams, and I know you say it a lot of times in sports, Doug, but it really is a shame that someone had to lose this one. Let's send it back down. Darren DuPont's got the victorious coach today.
Wayne, we're in sports for a reason. Have you seen anything like this?
I don't know if I've ever seen a finish like that. That was just crazy. You know, UBC kept battling back, and I just said if we could get it across center, we got a shot at a field goal. So we were fortunate enough to do that.
Take me through what's going through your head when you make that decision.
Well, you know, we had a little talk there on the timeout. We just said, you know, I need about 15 yards, and I think we only got 5. But I knew that we'd be in tight. But Nico's made those in practices, and that's why we practice.
He's saying he's never kicked one in a game. We're thinking 49 is longest. Did you really think you had a shot to make this?
Yeah, I thought he did. If anything, I thought, he might be a yard or two short, but I thought he really had a great shot at it. And, you just got to believe in the kid. And he's a mentally tough kicker. He's always been there, and he's brought us through a lot of games.
This game reminded me a lot of 2015 in the fourth quarter, where they came in, provided the big upset, and they were knocking on the door again. How much sweeter does this feel with all the circumstances surrounding it?
Well, certainly. It's always sweet to win this game. And, the third time in a row against UBC, great opponent. We've had 3 great games, and I'm just happy that we were able to come out on top and prevail today.
You obviously want to take some time to enjoy this, but as we look ahead to Laval, how much does coming through an emotional win like this set you up for success down the road here?
Well, you hope it gives the guys confidence and inspires them to always believe in what's possible. And, they've been our nemesis all the way through. And it'd be great to get them here on our home turf and see how we can do.
Wayne, congratulations. All the best next week.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Dustin?
Thank you very much, Darren. Back-to-back Hardy Cup championships for the Dinos, thanks to the leg of Nico DeFonte, and now a matchup with Laval. And you heard Coach Harris say there, Doug, they've always been their nemesis. And I mean, after this game, I wonder, maybe there could be a letdown, because this was an absolute thriller. You can't stay as high as you are at this very moment.
Yeah, and you heard, if you might have caught in the middle of the celebration, that destiny, I heard that word a couple times from Calgary players. And so, like we've talked about, they have not been able to get over the hump, whether it's Laval or otherwise. And I mean, they've lost to Laval in national semis. They've lost to Laval at Vanier Cup. So that is their nemesis. They want to find a way. They have another chance. They pulled one really out of the fire here today, late, but they've got a shot. And I mean, we know how good this Calgary team is, and we'll see how they can do next week.
That's what I was going to say. How could you ever doubt this team?
That's right.
After watching them win the football game the way they did today? With 16 seconds left, they get the ball, 3 plays, a 59-year-old field goal. I mean, you're not going to blame DeFonte if he misses a 59-yard field goal, because it's never happened before in Canada West history. But he hits that 59-yard field goal, and the Dinos steal the victory away here from UBC, who played a near-perfect game. At halftime, Neil said at halftime they have to come back and play a perfect game in the second half to win it, and they almost did. Here's the second last play of the game. Stewart getting out of bounds, and then there's another look. 59-yarder.
He just hit it perfectly cleanly, and they got a fair number of yards on that first down play, and then went underneath, got out of bounds just in time. And again, what else can you ask for from DeFonte? I mean, he hit it absolutely perfectly, and he had to there in order to propel Calgary to win the Hardy Cup.
Send it back down into that celebration. Darren DuPont has quarterback Adam Sinegra.
Adam, how do you put this into words right now?
Just can't. It's just awesome team effort. Never out of it. Always finish. That's what we did.
He's an offensive player. 344 yards, 3 touchdowns. You want the game in your hands, but what's going through your mind now when you're coming out for a 59-yard field goal?
I mean, I'm praying to God, and I'm praying for Nico, man. Like, my roommate, and I love him, and he pulled one. I've never seen him kick that far in my life, and I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of this team.
This team has gone through a lot of ups and downs over the last number of years, and in the final minute, they score to take the game away.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind at that point as you're coming back onto the field?
14 seconds. Just they're going to play soft, so just dropouts on the sideline, and then my coach told me we needed 10 to 15 more yards, and we only got 8, but Nico pulled one out of the bag.
Do you have anything left emotionally to get ready for Laval in a week?
I'm amped. We've been waiting for this one for a while, so it's been a long time coming. We're just glad we put ourselves in the situation to go win.
Congratulations on the win.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, baby! Thank you very much, Darren. He said he's amped. Why wouldn't he be? Laval in the Mitchell Bowl coming up. It looks as though that the 59-yard field goal from Nico DeFonte is the longest in the history of U Sports football. 57 yards from Jerry Foster. And this is thanks to Tim McAuliffe on Twitter, tweeted me. 57 yards, Jerry Foster back in 1986. And in 1982, there was a 55-yarder that was kicked. So nobody's ever kicked a 59.